A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the Ep3 dictators. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, pass fail safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
And so the applause finishes, and here we are, MauLer.
God, finishes. I hear it all through the show constantly. That's how much we're adored worldwide.
Everything that we say and do just gets a round of applause. I love it.
I say that as you're like taking your first beer or whatever, and you're like, you hear voices and noises all the time? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh.
Thought it was just me, yeah.
Are they in the room with us right now?
Yeah. Well, welcome everybody to Open Bar 134. We are here tonight. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. We've got Daredevil episode 3 to talk about, the Snow White premiere getting cancelled, the Harry Potter casting, which is absolutely baffling, George Lucas's cancelled Star Wars TV show that never was. Some quite interesting stuff. But yeah, hopefully everyone's doing well this evening. And before we bring in our panel of guests, how about we give some pointless facts for the year 1934 in this case?
Why the fuck not?
I will do my best to illuminate you. You know, I'm all about educating people, you know. Educate them, yeah. Irritate and educate them at the same time. Anyway, in this year, Bonnie and Clyde were finally shot to death by police in Louisiana on May 23rd, 1934. So bringing end to their reign of terror. I don't know, man. I think they were just trying to live their best lives. And that was the thanks they got.
They were playing GTA, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just for real. The problem is there's no respawns this time. When you get wasted, that's it.
Crap game.
As they discovered, yeah. Also, weirdly, Donald Duck made his debut. I'm just swinging from one extreme to the other here. This was the first time he ever made his film debut, and it was in the silly symphony cartoon, The Wise Little Hen. That was on June 3rd of that year.
So, I know a bit of conspiracy theory going on here, but do you think those two events are connected? The arrival and the rise of the duck versus the downfall. You know, I just gotta think. Yeah,
they died on May 23rd of that year. Donald Duck made his debut on June 9th. So, I mean,
pretty big coincidence, don't you think?
Yeah, just enough time for them to get themselves into a different format, and there they were.
That's
in plain sight the whole time. It's the last thing we expected. In terms of random stuff that was invented that year, the first ever tape recorder was invented using magnetic tape for recording. Also, Monopoly was invented by Charles Darrow.
Damn it, Charles.
Yeah, damn it.
All it does is tear friends and family apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, the key to that game is to just not give a fuck and just do the most dumb things imaginable. It's a much more fun experience that way. Also, cat's eyes were invented, apparently, in 1934. So there you go.
They invented cat's eyes. All right.
Yeah, cats didn't have eyes up until that point.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know. Do Americans know what cat's eyes are? Or is it just like what we call them in Britain? It's them shiny things that reflect off your headlights in the middle of the road, so you don't just like drive into the opposite lane. Them.
They probably know.
They were invented back then. Also, apparently, the cheeseburger was invented in 1934 at Kalen's restaurant in Louisville, Kentucky.
Well.
I find it hard to believe they didn't have cheeseburgers before then. That's just insane.
I guess someone had probably made them, but popularized, you know, that's the big deal.
Yeah, true. In the world of film, though, MGM purchased the film rights to The Wonderful Wizard of Oz from the author for the sum of $40,000. I don't think it'll take off. I can't see anything coming out of that.
Never heard of it.
But also, yeah, God, this is an interesting one. Fox Studios releases the movie Stand Up and Cheer, and Shirley Temple, who was 5 years old at the time, made her debut. And it turned out to be a big hit, actually, because Fox Studios was almost bankrupt at the time. The movie was a smash hit, and particularly Shirley Temple herself went on to star in 10 movies that year. 10 movies at the age of 5. Her career is kind of bizarre, actually. Like, she clearly was just a child actor. So, yeah, she after 1940, right? So basically, throughout the 30s, from 34 to like 1940, she was pretty steady. And then 1940, she was only doing like one film per year after that, and eventually just stopped altogether in 49. I guess she aged out of her roles.
Fair enough.
It's a common thing in Hollywood. I'm told that they prefer them young. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on. But yeah, in terms of famous people born that year, Judi Dench was born in 1934. Yeah,
still kicking around.
Still going, yeah. Also, Tom Baker still going. Although he's looking like fucking Imhotep the Mummy before he gets like starting to regenerate.
So is the active Imhotep.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know.
Yeah. Alan Arkin was also born that year. Wilford Brimley as well. Absolute legend.
Wow.
Was in The Thing and a whole bunch of other things. And Bill Bixby.
He was in The Thing and a bunch of other things.
Yeah, it's like Wilford Brimley's filmography is insane. Like, I was looking it up earlier. He has been in so many fucking things. But yeah, I guess we should probably move on and bring on our panel of guests so that we can talk about stuff in the present day.
Fine.
We are still waiting for Razorfist, but in the meantime, we have got Ryan Kinel from RK Outpost and BlueCollarLoser. So welcome aboard, gentlemen. I see you with that whiskey there, Blue.
Well, the best line in episode 3 was, "Gentlemen, bring out the bourbon." So I bought bourbon.
Excellent.
That's
Perfect.
fair.
Because we're going to need it for this.
Yeah. What brand is that there?
Evan Williams. Well, because I'm joking, like, this is still cheaper than half a dozen eggs in New York. So I'm joking.
Yeah,
Wow,
Evan Williams that bottle's probably about $15 right there. So yeah,
exactly.
it's pretty close. Yeah,
a man of distinction. Yeah. Why are eggs so expensive right now? I don't get it. What's going on?
Bird flu. Isn't that what they said?
Yeah.
Inflation, supply chain. I don't fucking know. But
it's the egg council people.
The
right?
egg elders are refusing
they're
to release
driving
eggs.
up prices so that they can make a killing off it.
Yeah, every day.
They're hoarding all the eggs.
I'm going with
one.
I like how before, like in December and January, when eggs were like $5.75 a dozen, it was no big deal. And then as soon as Trump gets inaugurated, and it's like they're like $5.90, and people freak the fuck out. It's like, yeah, we've been talking. They've been expensive for months now. It's been shitty.
If you really want to make Americans riot, just like make the price of bacon go up. They'll flip their fucking shit, man.
Don't joke about that.
Yeah, really.
It's pretty high. Everything at the grocery store is high right now, to be honest. It sucks.
I'm going to say this though, right? I have to say it. American bacon isn't that good compared to British bacon. I'm just saying it, man. It's like the thickness of a sheet of paper, and it tastes of fucking nothing. You get smoked bacon over here. Yeah.
That's what we live on.
You guys like the big floppy shit? We got to have That's the thing.
Even I don't.
Americans
like
are hard, okay? You guys are like got the big fucking thick floppy things over there.
Yeah, because you guys eat with your fucking fingers when you eat bacon. Like, it's the bizarrest thing. Like, they'll be sitting there with like, their knife and fork eating their eggs, and then it's like bacon time.
Yeah, you eat bacon with your hands.
No,
like a damn. You telling me you pull out a knife and fork to eat your bacon?
Yeah, because it doesn't shatter into a million pieces when we eat it.
Or with a knife and fork.
Oh my God.
This bacon debate.
This is why
you do this crazy stuff, right? You cut some bacon, you get some egg, you mix them together on your fork, and then you eat it. And then you got bacon and eggs in one mouthful. It's crazy.
I think that is kind of a big difference, right? We like our bacon a lot crispier than you guys do, I think, typically. True. So, like, even if, like, the way I like my bacon, if I were to stab it with a fork, it would just kind of break. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think that's also part of it.
Yeah. Well, tune in next week for a bacon chat.
And you got to dip it in maple syrup, too. You got to dip the bacon in maple syrup.
Oh, fuck.
You sick bastard. I love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well.
That's what it's all about.
We're going to have to.
You got to spend a little more time in America and get acclimated to it. It's better once you do.
You come over to Britain, right, at some point, right, if they'll give you a passport and let you travel internationally at some point. And I will take you out, in fact, for a full English breakfast, and you can try it, and you can compare them.
Is that when you guys like lop a bunch of fucking beans on a?
No, I don't get the beans thing. Yeah, I don't know.
I've heard people
make a big deal
defend
of
that
that.
to the hill. I was out with Disparu when he was here for MegaCon, and he was just going on and on about all the delicacies of like English food, and I'm like, it all sounds like absolute shit. And I was like, here's the difference, right?
It mostly is.
Yeah, and he's like, it's amazing. Why do you guys need all these like flavors, or why do you need all these other things? I'm like, you know why? Because we're not poor fucks, right? So we have been so like, it's not like I can just, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, I just need this. We have such excessiveness everywhere, so we need more to excite ourselves rather than just plain ass beans on a soggy piece of fucking bread and pretend like it's God's gift to us. No, we've evolved past that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You mean you're not excited by a plate of potatoes? I mean, what can I say, man?
It's funny how easily I can believe the idea that this brew is like, why do you guys want flavor so much?
I had this argument with him 100%. And because I think I got like when we were out, I got like mac and cheese with buffalo chicken, like with buffalo chicken pieces all in it and everything. And he was like, that's too much. That's ridiculous. I'm like, you're a fucking loser, Disparu. Just because you guys don't have these things in your godforsaken country, just because you have more children named Muhammad than anything else in your fucking country, doesn't mean you come over here start
illegal here soon, man. I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
Yeah, soon you're not even going to be able to eat bacon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
no pork allowed.
Yeah, that's why that show My 600-Pound Wife is all Americans.
That is true. Yeah, I'll never understand the American obsession with having potatoes with breakfast, though. Like diced potatoes, they come with fucking everything, and I don't get it. Like they don't taste of anything; they're just there. I don't know.
Like look, hash browns or some form of that. That's kind of a staple for American breakfast.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just an excuse to eat French fries, basically, in another format for breakfast.
It's tough to fuck up potatoes. You know what I mean?
It's like when people say I'm having a muffin for breakfast. It's like you're just having a fucking cake, basically.
Yes.
You just want to eat
something wrong with breakfast. That drink.
You fat fuck.
He's not wrong.
Razorfist, sorry. We're just talking about
how goes it?
Cake.
Bacon and cake.
I walk in on no pork allowed. What's going on here?
Oh, we're talking about the future of the UK
and compulsory circumcisions all around.
Exactly, yeah. The police state is watching us right now, actually, so I better be careful what I say. They'll come in for thought crimes.
That's true. You are in the UK, man. Like freaking the CCTV cameras outnumber the people. What, 10-1?
Yeah, there's actually one in my office right now watching me. Like you just have to
sign actually
up
hand you
it.
a personal one on birth. So
somehow they only track the white
it's
people.
Fucking
it's
GoPro
weird.
Stuck to your forehead permanently.
You're at the urinal. They remind you to shake. You know. Standard
like a really caring fucking government official be like, you should wash your hands, dude. It's
right. What was that? Bro, what was that? What was that?
If only they could give you like little motivational pieces in between, like, hey, you're doing great. That was a solid dump you took there. Well done, man.
Like you work out for 30 minutes. He's like, you could do another 5. You could keep going, man. Like, I believe in you.
Oh, MauLer.
It congratulates you on bowel movements. Like, that was nice. Only one wipe required. Solid job.
Yeah.
You know?
When you break up, they're like, you don't need it, man. You don't need it.
Speaking of which, I tried Iranian food recently, and I don't know. I just don't think it's the same outside of its native Ireland, personally. But
ooh, it's funny because it's fucking.
It's good. It's good though. Yeah. Whatever trash Americanized version I had was good.
Yeah. Anyway, well, we could talk about food all night, and honestly, I'm really tempted to. But I can just talk about other things. I guess this is supposed to be like a pop culture show. You gentlemen have all been watching Daredevil, and Ryan, and Razor. I believe you guys are pretty big fans of the comics, and so you're pretty knowledgeable about how this show's playing out so far. We're 3 episodes deep now. What's your thoughts on it so far?
Well, I just got to get a correction in there. Daredevil or Razorfist knows way more about Daredevil comics than I do by far.
I'm kind of obsessed.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I thought the first 2 episodes were extraordinarily mediocre. And I think the strength of this show is also its biggest weakness. The strength is that it's following up 3, for the most part, awesome seasons on Netflix. And it's probably one of the best superhero things we've ever seen on screen. But that is also its biggest weakness because it's going to be compared to that they wanted it to be compared to that to try to draw viewers in. And it to me, it's lacking from that series in almost every way so far.
Yeah.
I don't hate it when I watch it, but I do see a lot of warning signs, and I feel like in episode 3 we went further along some of those red flags in terms of, oh man, it's gonna be look at all these crooked cops, and Punisher's gonna do something, maybe even getting to the point where Punisher changes his symbol like they did in the comics. I don't know. That's where I feel like we're going with it. There's some elements that I think they could pull, that by the end I might be like, you know what, this is okay. But to me, I don't know if there's any way they're going to hold a candle to what they did on the Netflix series, which I don't know if it was ever achievable for them.
No, absolutely. And I mean, everybody knows like the drama behind the show is ridiculous. They had 6 episodes in the can, and apparently Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin and Matt Murdock, respectively, literally had a closed door meeting with Kevin Feige and just straight up said, yo, this is Daredevil Afterbirth. This is not working. If we release this as is, it's going to get dumped on. So we need to do something, make it more like the Netflix show. And so they basically threw out all the episodes except for 2. Episode 2 and 3 apparently are the only 2 that they kept. So if the omnipresent, whatever, the narrative was a little bit more evident in episode 3, and I agree, it definitely is. The cringy Punisher stuff, and I don't think he's going to change his skull though, because they already teased the Punisher or the Punisher one-off thing, and he's still got the skull on. So probably for branding purposes, they're going to keep that. But I see exactly where they're going, dude. You can see it from space. It's the writing is the big problem. Look, the performances are fine. I think Charlie Cox puts the entire show on his back and saves it on multiple occasions, dude. And the White Tiger actor, may he rest in peace, like carried episode 3. Like him and Charlie Cox, without those 2 guys, that episode might have been unwatchable.
I mean, for a guy who was fucking dying at the time, like it was incredible to watch him.
They did all this bragging about how for the first time we're going to have a superhero of Puerto Rican descent. They made such a big deal about it.
Did they?
And they did. And like the actor did unfortunately pass away, but we saw like nothing. We didn't see a single moment of him as White Tiger in the show, other than on like security
footage.
We didn't actually see a White Tiger moment.
That's not true. We got to see his brains get ventilated.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I wish we could have at least, what would have been nice if this was going to be the setup, and sure, probably got edited and chopped all to hell, whatever. But still, if you're setting these things up, and especially in the courtroom where you're listing all these instances that he saved people, it would have been great, at least once in that first episode when they were talking about the other vigilantes, to show specifically one of those moments where the cop, and maybe even one of the cops that was sitting there, like where he saved him, right? You could show that moment and then bring it all back around as Matt Murdock is kind of making this argument.
But you couldn't do that because a lot of this was in the can already. A lot of these episodes, like you could see the seams where there were awkward cuts and stuff. I mean, geez.
Yeah.
When there's the massive plot twist at the beginning of the pilot episode, whatever you want to call it, where the major character dies. I don't know if you're spoilery or not.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like after that happens, everybody is remarkably not somber. Like we fast forward to Matt Murdock just living it up, dude. Like he's cool. The Bee Gees are playing. He's all about it. And then 3 episodes in, he suddenly name drops Foggy, and it's like, oh, I was wondering when you were going to mention him. I'm like, yeah, the home viewing audience was too. What was that about? Those like 3 episodes, we didn't even give a fuck that this guy took a 30-aught slug through the sternum. Apparently, he was the lucky one though, because he didn't have to live through this show. So,
do you think he's dead, Razorfist?
No,
I don't think so either.
No, it's a well-worn trope in Daredevil comics that he fakes his own death periodically. He likes to take a summer vacation. He's like a public school teacher.
Even if he was originally killed, probably the new showrunner set would have been like, no, we're not killing him, and we can use comic storylines to bring him back anyway, because the fans don't want him dead.
Isn't this like the boy who cried wolf kind of scenario though, where like Foggy gets killed and everyone's eventually after like the third or fourth time, people are going to be like, "Yeah, sure, you're dead, buddy."
Yeah.
I'll catch you again next week with a different name. Like, say hello to Miguel Sanchez.
Yeah. You could see the seams though too in specifically Foggy and Karen. Okay, we didn't have them in our original show because it was a giant festering turd. So we have to explain away why they're not here for multiple episodes. Karen's mad again. Boy, that was a stretch. And Foggy's dead. Also a stretch, right? Like, so they just did the easiest thing imaginable to write them off screen. It's just the writing all around it's not just that, it's the dialogue too. At times, like that scene in the diner between Kingpin and Daredevil should have absolutely smoked. And instead it was just, oh, hey, how's it going? How's a wife and kids? Hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm not a criminal anymore. Oh, okay. I'm not a vigilante anymore. Okay. It's like,
and then we'll both keep each other in check. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, add my snatch. It's like, what?
I mean, it was kind of meta when we're watching this. It's not entirely unpleasant to watch this. Right, like that's kind of what it felt like, because I do like both those actors. I think they both give great performances. It reminds you of all the performances they gave, but it was lacking. And that's unfortunately everything about it, from the action to the dialogue to the story, is deficient from what we saw on Netflix. And like I said, that's going to be the biggest draw that brings people in, but it's also going to be what it's compared to, and rightly so. Yeah, you tell us it's a continuation.
I really do think that's the main problem, though, is just the writing. Like, Daredevil Netflix was written about the handicapped. Born Again is written by the handicapped. That's my summary. There's your tagline. Put it in the description. That's it. The dialogue, dude, it just lays there. Like, there was great dialogue in the original series. I went back and watched season 1, 2, 3. They all smoke. People get cranky about season 2. That has some of the best dialogue in the whole series. Yeah. It's really, really good. It's not so much that this show is bad. It's not. It's pretty good, but it just does not withstand comparison to the original, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think there's some things that, like, I can see little glimmers of things in it that I get what they're doing, but I feel like they should have taken longer and showed us a lot of the things that they're expecting us to assume, right? I think that the first episode should have been an entire episode with Foggy, Karen, and Matt. Because you can't just throw us in here, have them do a couple one-liners back with each other, and expect us to feel like 7 years has passed, right? You have to give us some time with these characters. Give it a whole episode with them, and then at the end, that happens. And then you actually show what happens in the aftermath of that. Because now, look, I can see it, right? Matt has moved out of their little Hell's Kitchen office. He's up in the big time now. He's doing these more high-profile cases, not doing some of the similar cases that he used to do until now with White Tiger. He's in a completely different apartment. Everything's brighter. Like, Foggy was the one who kept him grounded and kept him invested in so many of those things that they were doing. And he's gone. And Matt has now kind of like shed that skin along with Daredevil. And not only is he not Daredevil, he's not Matt Murdock anymore. And like, I just feel like they could have really unpacked a lot of that in like a second episode following the death before we get to kind of 1 year after and what they're left with.
I think what you got from that first episode, if you could sum it up in a word, it's necessity. The necessity in this case was we need to move Matt into a different world that aligns with what we want to do with this new season, and we want to do it as quickly as possible. And like you say, Ryan, you get like that 2-minute sequence where they're walking down the street, they're chatting in the bar, and then boom, Foggy's dead, boom, Karen's gone, boom, it's a year later, and that's it. We're into the new world now, and it's not as bad, but it's like that. It's like the beginning of Alien 3, where it's just like, hey, we're gonna take the ending of the previous movie and fucking undo all of it.
Bro, that is a great comparison. It's very Alien 3, super Alien 3.
MauLer, you like this show, right?
It's jarring, and it just feels a little bit. You get that feeling of injustice, where it's just like, oh, fucking, couldn't you give them a bit more than this? Did you have to just like pull the rug out from under us so quickly?
Not only that, but like, what's the deal with Bullseye? What was he even there for? Like, what's
We'll
he
find
cranky
out.
about? Just
No, who knows?
he just.
Okay. I'm
I
way harsher on this show than seemingly most people are. I kind of hate it. I think it's abysmal crap, and I think that of what is in there that's sort of triggering people to defend it, or at least say that there's some meaning or there's some good stuff in there, is deliberately pushed in a very like surface level way to have that defense roll out. Because from my understanding, because I don't know exactly what you've read about it, Razor, but I thought it was 1 through 6 were kept. They moved them forward into 2 through 7, did a new pilot, which is what we saw, and then they've done everything post 7. As far as I'm aware, that's what we're dealing with. And
Could
if
be.
you,
I had heard I had heard they had 6 episodes in the can. They had to throw most of them out. They were only able to keep 2, and it was episodes 2 and 3. I don't know. The internet, there's so many
there's a lot of sources on
contradictory
it.
reports. Yeah, you could be right. You could well be right, but
but like the one I was looking at said that we won't be seeing Karen, Punisher, and Bullseye again until episode 8 and 9, which I don't know how true that is, but I was like, holy fuck, dude. Like,
that's a long time to be dealing with Punisher cops. That's a long time.
Exactly. I don't know what exactly their plans are, but like, broadly speaking, even that pilot, if I was told like that was the attempt from the new guys, I'd be like, you took what is iconic about the Netflix series, right? The physical, practical, and difficult fight scenes, with some clever stitching to make them really long shots, certainly in the second one. But the first one, I think, was all just one, right?
Yes.
And then the prison one as well was really impressive.
Yeah.
But this one, like, the rubber characters hit me so fucking hard. The smoke, the grenade hitting the front of the screen and being fully CG. I was like, really?
Dude, it reminded me of the Daredevil movie from 2003 where they're jumping all over the pipe organ, the little CGI.
Arguably that is better considering. But yeah, like we didn't. And a lot of those things, not even the fight scene, just the initial Daredevil appearance when he like swings up to the rooftop and it just looks like shit. It's like, if it's going to look that bad, don't put it in there, or like zoom way in so we don't see it. Like, we don't need to see him swinging if it looks like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
It's the animations. They're always, the weight is always wrong when they have to rush the CG, and you can see it. It doesn't look right. So you get all of that stuff. And like the thing that hit me the most though with all of it was the time skip, because I wasn't fully aware of a lot of the meta, so I was kind of taking it for what it was as a TV show. But I was like, you're gonna skip over showing me Matt's existential crisis, quitting, becoming Daredevil, dealing with Foggy's death, going to his family to give him the news, Karen abandoning him after them trying to like repair all this. All that's gone, and instead I'm facing a bunch of these new characters who I can't even remember their fucking names. Really? Cherry's the only one that sometimes I remember.
And also,
that's a reused name, by the way. Here's how lazy the showrunners are. Cherry is a reference to a Frank Miller storyline. They already dropped that reference in season 1. When Kingpin is bribing, you remember Kingpin was like bribing a Senate candidate and this guy and that guy? That was Cherry. And he's mentioned by name in season 1. Now we zoom forward to Daredevil Born Again. I guess they forgot they dropped that Easter egg already. They reused Cherry, and now he's a police detective. It's so lazy. You can, like I said from the beginning, like the heart and soul of the original Netflix show was the showrunners. It was. You had Stephen S. DeKnight, a really, really good showrunner, and the writers. Christos Gage, who is a comic writer, was one of the main writers of the Netflix series. He's nowhere to be found here.
And
when these goofy also ran names pop up on screen as, the episode's written by this guy and that guy, it number one, they have no comic book cachet, and it's certainly not up to the quality of Christos Gage, and I think his wife too helped him write it. But yeah, the writing is just not up to par at all.
I think it would be crazy if we don't see Punisher again until episode 8 or whatever that was, because
I can give you the link on the information. I don't know how accurate it is. Like, I've heard a couple of different takes on this.
Like my assumption is that at the end of episode 3, after White Tiger gets freed and immediately breaks his promise to Matt and goes out to be a hero again and gets shot in the fucking head, I assume that is either Muse or a dirty cop who was like cosplaying as Punisher, like to do that, whatever. And I feel like once Matt finds that out, he's going to go find Frank and like confront him about this shit. And that's when Punisher gets involved. And that's when he realizes, oh, these cops are using my symbol. It's not what it's for. That, all this shit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you can go that long without getting him in there, but who knows?
Like I said, when I read it, I didn't believe it. I was like, "There's no way they would delay that long, right?" But now I'm getting a bit worried because I'm already pretty cynical about this season as it is. And anything that I enjoy, take for example, like the concept of Kingpin being mayor is like, yeah, that's fucking cool. And that's what he does, like with the corruption, blah blah blah. And it's like, how did they do it? It's like, well, he ran on the platform of anti-vigilantism in a world where he was the one who created a fake vigilante to destroy their reputations and kill countless innocent people.
Yeah, that is such a wormhole that and look, one of the problems is when they introduced Kingpin in the Hawkeye series, we're like, okay, it's Vincent D'Onofrio, right? It's Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, but is it from the Daredevil series?
Well, unfortunately, yes. At this point,
right. We did get it confirmed, but it was like done as a piss take. So, like when they're having that diner meeting, it's like, hey, remember when when Echo shot you in the face, and then they laugh about it? It's like, yeah, that was fucking retarded.
Hey, remember when you had a son that we wrote out of existence? Like what?
I think we can all tell, right? You know how they're trying to get Kingpin back in as the season goes on. He's getting angrier or get less control.
He's eventually going to flip out on Vanessa. Yeah.
I'm worried that, like, are we supposed to gather? Because I know that several of you guys are sane, and so you didn't see Echo, but like, she cured his childhood trauma in that season. Are we supposed to believe that that is why he is behaving the way that he is right now?
I think so, yeah. Because
so
he alludes to having gone on a difficult journey to like
that
heal
sucks,
himself.
Man. That fucking sucks.
I know it.
He went on a
really
spiritual journey, but I think he's going to reawaken. So
just to be clear, Razor, I don't know if you saw it, but like she touches his forehead and goes into his mind and goes back to when literally when he was killing his dad and all that shit.
What?
And she like wipes it clean for him and he cries.
Yeah,
she fixes his childhood trauma.
God, that's so. You ever hear something? You ever hear something so retarded? You hope it's canon. Like that's terrible.
And so I think that to me, what this show is, and I don't necessarily like the concept. What the show is it's Daredevil trying not to be Daredevil and Kingpin trying not to be Kingpin.
Yeah.
And as the series goes on, both of them are going to embrace that again.
Which is,
I don't like that, but I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah. We're on the third go around on Daredevil doing that.
Exactly.
And Kingpin at the beginning of the series, it's season 1 of the Netflix series, was trying not to be the evil Kingpin guy. What was that? I am the ill intent monologue at the end of season 1. That was supposed to be the culmination of him deciding, hey, wait, maybe I am a evil bald bastard.
I mean, on Daredevil's side, in Defenders, he goes through this arc, and it's not. I don't recommend that season to anybody, but his conclusion is like, I can't keep listening to people crying out for help. Like, I've got to do something. It's like, so I guess he's going to learn to do that again.
Well, as MauLer was saying, I like the idea. I like the concept of Kingpin actually achieving his goal. He's now mayor of the city, okay? Yeah. And he now is in charge. He's got everything that he wanted. Now it's like, what does he do with that? And like, is it actually the goal that he thought it was going to be, or is it just like an absolute nightmare to try and get anything done? Because you start to encounter the things that he's up against, like the bureaucracy, the endless meetings, like everything's tied up in red tape. You can't actually get anything done. It's a lot easier when he was just a criminal, kingpin, for lack of a better word, because he can enforce his will upon people to get results. So it's like, okay, fine. Like there's something that you can explore there.
He has time for Philly cheesesteaks, though.
Yeah, but he thinks they're shit. So.
From outside of Philly.
What's with the weird line readings from Vincent D'Onofrio, too? Like, that sandwich was disgusting. You know what I mean? And
I think this happens sometimes with actors. Like, they almost become parodies of their original performance when they've been doing it for a long time, and then they've taken a break and they're coming back. It's like they've almost forgotten how they did it.
He lost weight, so his voice sounds different.
His voice does actually sound different. Like he's putting it on harder. Like
yeah.
I think it's because a bit. Seriously, I think it's because everyone he knows, like fat people, have a sound, right? And since he's lost weight, I legitimately do think
the vibrations in their throat have to get through so much more flesh to get out into the world. So.
Yeah, and that's why So the thing is, yes, we have seen Daredevil go through this, questioning of what he's doing and putting down the mask, all this stuff before. I can genuinely believe, if you set it up to me the right way, I could genuinely believe that 7 years removed from the last time we saw these characters, and after he feels maybe some guilt and that, like, specifically that Bullseye was trying to get retribution on him in some way, like, I can believe these things. If you set these things up and do a good job of setting the stage, I could genuinely believe that an event like that would make Daredevil's life fall apart and him put it down. I can buy it. But you have to show me. You can't let me do all of the fucking explaining for that. So I just don't think they've done a good job of doing it.
No, I don't either. And
sound of Courtroom.
Seeing Cox and D'Onofrio back is wonderful, but I still I'm super distracted by Vanessa cheats on him. He has to go to therapy with her for it, and then they just casually throw out that she's been running his business better than him this whole time. I was like, why? Why did you do all of those fucking things?
You know what's interesting as well? Like, he's kind of portrayed as quite timid around her. Like,
That's
the moment
I
where
think
he says, "Let's not fall into the trap of me not trusting you," and she gives him the look, and he actually backs off, like, "Oh, I might have overstepped."
I think they're doing it.
It's like, you're fucking Kingpin. There's no mark for you to overstep.
They want to build him up to being as ferocious as he was at his peak in the other seasons, but the problem is I think they've drawn him way too far down.
Yeah, true.
He got beat by fucking Kate Bishop. He got beat by
Echo.
The ancestors of fucking Echo. All of her female ancestors come together to make him cry. And now we see this with his wife. And to be fair, he has always had an extreme soft spot to a level of pathetic sometimes when it does specifically come to her. Like that is established. However,
but it's like he wants to protect her. She's like something that he wants to cherish. Like he's not. Right. Yeah, she's not something that he's afraid of necessarily, or not as a threat.
It's a little different when he turns into a small child around her. When the scene previous, he's decapitating a guy with a car door.
Yeah.
Yes.
Slight juxtaposition there. Mm-hmm. When the most aggressive thing you've seen Kingpin do to this point is eat a ham sandwich. It's a little different.
Fill that hole.
Yeah, but I think I think it just comes down to the modern day Marvel imperative that Vanessa now has to be a girl boss who's better at doing the criminal underworld thing than he ever was. And it's just, it feels so out of place for her character. It's not what she was about. I get that towards the end of the Netflix series, she had embraced his criminal life. She understood who he was and she accepted it. But there's a big difference between that and actually fucking running his business and taking over from him.
Yeah, there's an element of that in the comics. She does there have been times where suddenly she becomes the crime boss and Kingpin's the one trying to turn over a new leaf. I'd like to think maybe they're trying to go there, but if they did, they didn't lay the narrative framework for that. They didn't lay the character development framework for that.
My best possible hope is that what happens is we find out that Vanessa's way of, loyalty and blah, 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 that's all going to come back and bite her in the ass, and Kingpin's going to have to go full Kingpin. And he's going to bring the severed head of Adam, whoever that fuck was that fucked his wife. And to me, I could see where that might be where they're going. Yeah. And if they do those things, if they turn that around by the end, that's where I could say, okay, I don't like the way they got there necessarily, but okay. Whereas if they keep them like this, it's going to be fucking horrendous.
Just curious, Brian, you mentioned Adam. Kingpin's hand. What's up with his hand? His hand's constantly bloodied, like he's beating the shit out of somebody, but they don't show it.
Secret there. We're gonna find out probably.
I was wondering if maybe it is Adam. Maybe he's keeping Adam in a bunker or something. Every day he wakes up and kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, by the way, so you got Kingpin, his primary experienced aide, the TikTok guy aide, and then the British assistant man. All three of them put together couldn't even come close to Wesley. It's so sad to watch them struggle to try and recreate anything close to Wesley. It drives me fucking nuts because I was like, you should have just resurrected him.
Bro, I do they have this experienced black political seasoned leader, and everything she says, he's like, nah, fuck that. Whatever your name is over there, TikTok guy, do this. And it all works out for him so far.
Who is he from the comics? What is his the TikTok guy?
No idea if he's a real person or not.
Yeah.
Right. because I've heard people suggest that like there is a character from the comics that he's going to morph into ultimately.
Really?
He's like some kind of manipulator or something.
He's
Then the
such a
problem too.
goober.
The problem too with comics is they're
Well, I know,
constantly
but like
adding more,
there's
you know?
like, is there more to him than what you're seeing? And he knows more than he's letting on. I'm not sure.
No.
Oh, guess we'll find out.
Yeah, Drinker, as you
Guess
said,
we'll
this is
find
like
out.
almost like the Thor problem. How many times does Thor have to reinvent himself or have to find himself? And
Yeah.
Matt's going through the exact same thing. It's like this is season 4 essentially, and he's quitting again.
Yeah.
I do like, however, they don't address anything about She-Hulk in this. Like, it makes
I love it.
absolutely no
Oh,
sense
yeah.
in the timeline that they've established for him to be going to fucking California to fuck She-Hulk. And
I think I said this to MauLer like when we did like a catch-up stream last week. It's like, could you imagine if fucking She-Hulk just showed up in this show? Like the tonal whiplash.
Well, yeah,
of her
mind
being there
everybody,
in this
right?
fucking grounded, believable world.
I don't know that it's
Daredevil.
even possible to make her canon to this, because if you remember, in her world, she spawned Daredevil out of thin air at a preference of manipulating the universe. That's something that happens in that series. They can't make that canon to Daredevil. It's you know what I mean? It's just like, I guess she could turn up.
They tried with the original version of the show. If he was running gallivanting around in the yellow suit like they originally intended, that might have well been the case.
That's what I heard. I heard that this was supposed to be a comedy banking off of She-Hulk. And then after She-Hulk tanked, that's when all the rewrites came in. Because like, guys, well, She-Hulk is doing shit. We can't have a comedy
I
Daredevil.
heard She-Hulk did well, though. I'm not even kidding. Like, isn't this what Gary's talked about? That She-Hulk behind the scenes actually did okay. It's just they're not opting for a season 2 with it. As compared to all the other shows, I'm pretty sure She-Hulk actually did better than any of them. I'd have to check. I can't remember. That might be just like a fucking made-up memory in my own
it's a
head.
reputational thing as well, though, isn't it?
No,
Like,
of course.
It's
It's a fucking mess of a show.
It's got crazy numbers. Like, still, everyone fucking hated it.
It was awful.
I did love that. Sorry, I did love this one from the Masterpiece saying Vincent D'Onofrio called me a dumbass on X for criticizing his character on Daredevil, and the show drew very poor numbers. Now, to get Bob Iger to call me a racial slur so we can shut down Disney.
Hey, it worked for Papa John's.
Well, yeah, I did see this shared.
Hold on, but your fucking
like,
Twitter name was dumbass.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's true.
Like the Twitter name that he replied to, at least temporarily, was called dumbass. Like that was your name. So if he did, I'm okay with his response.
You sure that wasn't a retroactive name edit? Come on. I would wear that like a badge of honor. Jeez.
Well, it's like to what MauLer was saying. It says, well, according to source in Google, 390 million minutes of watch time. The problem is, what is 390 million minutes? How do you gauge that?
Well, it's literally that's what we got from views for what Disney came out and announced, right?
So I can give you some of the context for this, right? So apparently Daredevil Born Again has got 7.5 million viewers in its first 5 days, I think they've listed it as.
Double episode release.
Yeah, exactly. So compare that to some other things.
And that's on just the first episode, for the record. And those are global views, not just domestic minutes watch numbers. Right. So essentially, that's the watch time that single episode accumulated over those first 5 days, divided by the runtime for the episode, which the first episode was around 60 minutes or whatever. So that's how they come up with that views number.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. So 7.5. Loki season 2 got 10.9. Agatha All Along, Jesus, that got 9.3.
That's really
now that was over a week, right? 7 days.
7 days, yeah. Ahsoka got 14 million in 5 days. The Acolyte got 11.1 million views in 5 days, and then Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Apparently, that's the winner here. That got 13 million in 6 days.
And
a show that nobody
Daredevil
fucking talks about.
7.5, right?
7.
That's like it's shockingly fucking bad for them.
Yeah, when I heard that number, I didn't believe it at first.
It's shockingly bad for it to be, and it's probably that full 7 day probably would have been a little less than Agatha based on when people watch them, and that counts for over the weekend and everything. So it's probably tracking at 7 days less than Agatha as well. They can make all the excuses they want about, oh, well, the rating, kept a couple people away and blah, blah, blah. This is fucking Daredevil. It's a follow-up to the Netflix series. It's got a group of hardcore dedicated fans that wanted to see something like this. and it got outdrew by Agatha fucking Harkness, who nobody gives a shit about, and was a ratings failure. And that's where this show is sitting.
So that's the real takeaway here. Is it's not just a failure. That's a big failure. Like,
yes,
show about a blind guy and nobody saw it. Go figure.
Ooh,
I don't.
I mean, is it like, you know,
Is it
follow
the
around from
falling
Netflix show?
subscriptions is what I wonder, because Disney took a huge hit to subscriptions over the last year or two, and I would be like, dude, I would be surprised if anyone stuck around after watching Ahsoka.
Yeah, but you're talking about
well, they
But
watched
I
Acolyte.
think the hit to the subscriptions is mostly sports related. Is it not like cricket and shit in India and like it's not
that's
really
some of
relevant
it,
to
but
this other
still, we're talking about a couple million subscribers, which certainly is nothing to scoff at. But you know, 3 million subscribers would be like 2% of the Disney Plus total subscriber base at 150 million.
Yeah.
So like that's not enough to justify the huge discrepancy between something like Acolyte and this, something like Agatha and this. And this is the first episode, right? So it's not just that, oh, well, people tuned into the first episode, they didn't like it, they didn't come back. This is with all the hype and energy and anything they could do, with all these guys tweeting about it, with Foggy and Karen pretending like they're going to be a huge part of his show. Thanks for bringing us back, guys.
Yeah.
And it flopped. That's rough.
Well, so what's everybody's main theory on how that happened?
People have lost interest and lost trust.
Yeah,
Period.
I think it has less to do with this show than it does with just Disney Plus shows in general. Dude, you get served turd casserole enough times, you're not going to assume the next thing coming is chocolate mousse. You know what I mean?
I think it's a combination of a bunch of things, and it might be one of those perfect storm situations where a general decline in interest in Disney Plus, a decline in quality in the Marvel TV shows, where people have been burned too many times and just think, nah, this isn't worth my time. Yeah. And also the Netflix Daredevil show, we're talking like 5-6 years ago that people last saw it. That's quite a long time in modern entertainment terms to maintain the interest. And yeah, sure, there's 100% like a dedicated group of fans that are like baying for it to come back, and that's awesome. But that's a smaller group. Like the general audience will have kind of forgotten about it or didn't watch it in the first place. I think it's a combination of all those things.
I think all of that counts for huge. Another thing I would probably add is this is a series that maybe if it were stellar, it could build an audience or at least run up some momentum. But with what I've seen, I don't know that it's going to be capable of doing that. And I wonder how many Daredevil fans, especially with the Netflix show, were upset about the Foggy decision.
Yeah. That's another head scratcher. Okay, we want to make this the fan service series. All right, let's kill one of the Holy Trinity off right at the beginning of the series.
Well, and did you notice as well? Like, it fucking drove me up the wall, being like, you get about 3 conversations worth of dialogue before they shoot him, and it's all characters talking to other people about random foundational like contextual shit. Like, your Cherry is retiring. Why? Well, because, and I was like, who the fuck? I don't care why. What? You know, it's like, oh, Foggy, how does it feel to be working for a smaller, office rather than the big one that you were with in Daredevil season 3? And he's like, yeah, it's been a change. And I try to help people that I'm interested in. I was like, why isn't he talking to Matt right now? It should be Matt, Karen, and Foggy for a solid 10 minutes at least before you kill him,
Yeah.
And the people they replace these characters with do not rise
they're
to their
so
level.
fucking boring. The woman is just like, Matt has to spend half his fucking time talking about how amazing she is, and she's the best DA that he's ever met. And
I was dying when he was like, "Remember why I hired you? Because I'm so good."
Are you ready for this truth bomb? This is going to be stunning to you. That character, Kirsten McDuffie, comic character, 20 times the cringe in comic form.
Oh,
believe it or not,
right?
20 times.
That's from the Mark Wade run.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Oh yes, that was his girl boss.
I like this one as well. Intent Matters. My favorite Karen scene was in season 3 when she admitted to killing Wesley to Kingpin and hoped that he tries to kill her, and cops get it on camera. Now you're telling me that she's living it up in San Francisco and not caring about Kingpin being mayor?
We didn't get to see any of it. She's just gone.
She just got sad and left, MauLer. Okay, people get sad and leave and just abandon their friends and everything that is important to them.
To just throw some more praise on Netflix Daredevil, that conversation I love that he asks about Matt being Daredevil, and it's just her expression that he's like, huh, so he is. She's like, fuck. Like, it's It's that whole scene's excellent, and it was what Razor was saying. There's so much great dialogue in the Netflix version that I haven't seen a fucking whiff of it in the new one so far.
Yeah, I mean, and you killed off some of the characters with the best dialogue. Unfortunately, I never agreed with Ben Urich kicking it in season 1 of Daredevil.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that was a mistake. Dude, I don't think they should have killed Wesley. I think that was a mistake.
Wesley the priest. You know, like there were great characters who delivered some really, really cool dialogue in that show. And
well, you know what? Getting rid of Lantum, I'll accept on condition that Maggie replaces the spiritual scenes. Where the fuck is Maggie gone?
Where'd she go, dude? You reconnected with your estranged, orphaned mother, and
she's gone.
We do not want too much religious iconography in this show. Well, if it's Christian or Catholic iconography.
Yeah. If it was Ramadan or something, they'd be
for sure. Yeah,
I got a strict impression when he had that moment where he sat in the courtroom alone, like a church, on a bench, like a church.
Exactly.
I was like, why isn't he in a church right now? And it's like,
I was thinking the exact same fucking thing.
It's like there's cool, interesting stuff they could do with it. Seeing him walk up to the gate of the church and listen to what's going on inside, but
the CGI church, the obviously CGI church. Yes,
that's what I'm talking about.
But the thing, in my interpretation of that, is that Matt has yet to forgive himself because he blames himself for Foggy's death in some way.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
you don't know anything about it.
Anything like that, right? They haven't talked about that. They haven't done anything like that. Nothing. So something that, like, I am doing all of the guessing of what they might be going for as to why Matt is not doing that. But I can't just fucking guess. You haven't done a good enough job of telling the story for me to appreciate if that's what you're going for or not.
Yeah. Same thing with Kingpin.
They've not justified it properly. And to me, this feels like they're like, the Catholicism's in there. It's totally in there. And you're like, it is? And you're like, yeah, it's totally.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
I totally get it. Like, modern day Disney does not want to delve into that sort of thing because it's problematic. Of course it fucking is. And it's like kryptonite to your writers there. But like that's Matt's character. That's endemic to his entire personality, his entire worldview, and it's how he rationalizes the shit that he has to deal with through his Catholic faith.
Yeah.
You either embrace it or you don't. But if you don't, then you're doing a disservice to his character, big time.
Yeah,
I think it was Frank Miller who said, you know, only a Catholic could rationalize being a lawyer and a vigilante or something like that. Like, that's why he came up with it. He wanted something that would, like, play to the guilt, basically, like, so that he could really, really milk that for dramatic tension. It's key to the character. It really is, since the Frank Miller rewrite.
Yeah, plus even in the Ben Affleck movie, the church is a big part. The opening scene is Matt on a cross, bleeding from bullseye.
What's so interesting, because I rewatched it. I hadn't seen the director's cut, which, by the way, fully recommend it.
Yeah.
It's a real fun watch.
They took out 25 minutes of footage, MauLer.
I know. But the thing about it is that film is running somewhat on him having lost his faith, or at least it's in a bit of a crisis, right? Yeah. And yet there are many scenes that relate explicitly, overtly, and substantively to Catholicism. It's a really interesting comparison to watch that, a story that's definitively trying to say, like, he's having a crisis, he's trying to figure out where he stands with all of this, versus Born Again, that's kind of like, yeah, we're doing the same thing. It's like, yeah, and how many scenes have you got? It's like, hey, he looked at the CG church, okay? We've done enough.
Oh, wait, in episode 3, they do a toast, and I think Heather Glenn, who isn't Heather Glenn, by the way, they just gave her that name, says God at one point. So there's that.
Yeah, she puts like a little prayer up there. Yeah. And I don't know. Someone in the chat said Foggy faked his death so he could transition. Here's the crazy wild theory. Foggy faked his death to transition. Foggy's actually Heather because he's in love with Matt, and Foggy is going to expose Kingpin and Vanessa's marital problems before he reveals himself as Foggy.
I swear to God, like, I would not put that past modern writers in Hollywood. No. They would do that if they thought they could get away with it.
I kind of, the scenes that are clearly from the original show are so bad. They're like almost so bad they're good. I kind of want them to go back and release the original show like as an item of curio, because it seems like it was just going to be so ass over tea kettle awful.
I mean, if it came down to what you described, where D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox like literally went into the office and said, "Yeah, we're not doing this shit. This is not working. Like, you're gonna have to redo this." I love that they would have taken a stand like that, because it seems like they do care about these characters a great deal. John Bernthal's the same. He said, "I'm only ever going to come back as Punisher if it's good, if the script is good and it's actually paying tribute to the character."
Yeah, but what if his definition of good is making it all about dirty cops that are using his symbol and how he wants to use that to protest
yeah. Well, we've heard this before, right? Like, didn't Linda why am I forgetting her name? The Terminator 2, Sarah Connor. Linda
Hamilton.
That's the one. My brain's just fucking melting. I was going to say she refused to come back for T3 because of the script, didn't she? And then she was like waiting for the best script. She came out for fucking Dark Fate.
Yeah, but that's what 2 decades and like a new mortgage will do for you.
Yes.
Hey man, Linda's got to eat. Okay.
Yeah. let's not pretend John Bernthal's a paragon of dramatic acumen. You know what I mean? Like, he agreed to Punisher season 2. Let's be real. Like, that later Netflix Punisher stuff was not the best. They should have changed the name to Mr. Marine or something. It was like a tactical, like he was a Punisher show where he never did any punishing.
Yeah, Jigsaw was bad.
He definitely punished the dude towards the end of season 1. Like, that was fucking
at the very end. Yes.
Yeah, but then you have Jigsaw having PTSD for an entire season. All the scars are healed, and it's just he wasn't Jigsaw.
Yeah, I love because his face got turned into mush basically by the end of season 1, and then you see him in season 2. It's like he's got a couple of lines across his face, but he's still a total pretty boy. It's like, how did that work? I want your plastic surgeon, bro. I did like this one as well. As a blind man, I condone these blind jokes at blind people's expense. When I figure out which way the door is, I'm going to attempt to write a letter of condemnation when I find the door. Oh, thank you, man. But yeah, I think I don't know. Episode 3 of this season has been less egregious than the first 2 episodes, because it doesn't have the big major events that you had there, like the big controversial stuff like killing off Foggy and stuff. It was the courtroom drama aspect of it. The slight problem being, I am really shaky on the actual use of the law in this, because it just seems to make up rules as it goes along. It's pretty much like, this guy couldn't have possibly murdered a cop because he's a vigilante, which makes him a good guy. And here's all the evidence of it. And it's
he wasn't wearing his amulet.
Yeah, he didn't have his mystical amulet on, so that's fine.
Forget that basic stuff, like the judge not demanding to see witnesses before the freaking trial, and we're jetting him across town, and they do the vehicle fake out thing so the cops can't kill him.
I see that coming.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, you can't just bring a witness in that the other side has no fucking clue who they are or what they're about. They have to have a chance to depose them before the trial.
Right.
But yeah,
there's also the prosecution discovered he was White Tiger. That changes everything about the case.
Yeah.
And then the judge is like, well, you know, we're on the board. This is episode 2, right? We're borderline mistrial already. And then Matt's like, no, we'll not enter it in. It's not relevant. Him running around and getting himself into fights has nothing to do with this fight where he got himself involved, okay? Nothing to do with that.
He wasn't
no establishing character, no history. And the judge bafflingly says, yeah, you're right. We're going to keep that out. It's like, okay.
No, and the judge literally says, I could declare a mistrial here, but nah, we'll call it a mulligan. It's no big deal.
You get the logic where he's like, I would declare it a mistrial in episode 3, but he's like, but it doesn't matter because everyone knows he's White Tiger now.
The cat's out of the bag.
Well, look, there is like relative precedent for keeping things that a lot of people might think are very relevant to what's happening out, right? Yep. For instance, in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, there was some stuff that was inadmissible because it had nothing to do with what happened that night. However, I believe it was like that video of him outside a store saying, I wish I had my gun so I could stop these people, right? And it was people like robbing a Dollar General, some shit like that, right? So things that might seem very relevant ended up being excluded because of the prejudice that it would give the jury.
If they had stuck to it, I'd be with you, but they go back on it anyway, so...
They do go
not
back.
only that, but the proof that he's White Tiger is, hey, I've got a White Tiger mask.
Yeah.
in my hand. Like, dude. Oh, so what?
Yeah.
Maybe he wrestles Lucha Libre in Mexico.
They
or
have
something.
to do.
No, he's got
They have
his
to do a
magical
whole trial.
amulet, Razor.
Mhm.
They got to do a whole trial of him being White Tiger because first of all, yeah, where's the fucking proof other than having a mask? And then secondly, well, hang on, he's gonna go to jail for that. Before we even figure out how
It's
much
like-
time he's got for this.
Even if it's a defense, like I'm pretty sure being a vigilante and taking the law into
That
your
was
own
what
hands
Fisk
is a
was running
crime.
on.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Fisk was mad that he had won this case. I was like, yeah, well, he's still got the White Tiger case to come. And he's like, no, I will kill him anyway. It's like,
Exactly.
well, okay, I guess, yeah. It wasn't over. He could have got him, but you know, there we are. That's how it goes. Bringing in the witnesses to all say he's a wonderful man, I thought was very funny. And then they established that you couldn't have committed first-degree murder. I was like, yeah, fine, okay. But when they get all the way down to manslaughter, it's like
Manslaughter,
you don't need a guilty mind to have done manslaughter. Like you don't need to be a bad person to have done manslaughter. It's possible that he did it.
Yeah, manslaughter is literally like you get into a brawl
They don't-
with someone and accidentally kill them.
They don't cover why the jury decided he couldn't possibly be guilty of manslaughter, other than people saying he's a nice man.
Yeah.
He didn't make.
I
a
mean,
chicken-
look, I totally get like with jury with jury verdicts like that, the emotion comes into it. So it can totally be like, I just think this guy is a good guy, and like even if by the strict letter of the law, he probably did commit manslaughter in this case because he was in a fight with this guy and like he fell into a train and he got killed. I just don't want to convict him of that. So the juries can totally go that way. They are emotionally, manipulatable. But yeah,
Well, defense lawyer didn't even get a fucking chance to make that case, though, that, hey, he might be a nice man, but that doesn't stop him from having made mistakes. And then he could cite all of the history of the MCU, which they are now glued to, like the Accords, like all the people that got killed across all these different movies by accident stuff. Be like, we've come across this before. Iron Man nearly died several times and then did die saving the world, but he still made fucking Ultron that killed a shit ton of innocent people. Like, this is how it works. This is how justice works. You know, all that shit. But never mind.
And MauLer, did you notice when a defense attorney is like, hey, so whenever you're hit with a train, 200,000 pounds of steel, when it hits you, you're not dead yet. And I'm like,
I don't know what the fuck he was talking about with that.
Bro,
it's
citation
like you don't-
needed.
You don't die until they back the train up. It's
Oh
like,
my
well,
God.
if they never
when
back
you
it up, are you just
separated at the
alive
atomic
forever?
level, you're not dead straight away.
No. You've just been turned into SpaghettiOs, but don't worry about it. You'll kick out.
it's like you have some
As
broken
long as
bones.
the train doesn't back up, you're good.
Yeah, you have
They,
some
they
broken,
wanted
broken
some
bones.
impactful statement there, but it's like they couldn't think of anything. Like, like, can you suffer from a train impact? No, you're pretty much fucking like human mince at that point.
When,
well,
you know,
who cares?
credit to like this is what I liked about the Netflix show, the courtroom stuff. I was always under the impression, I always got the impression that Matt was a good fucking lawyer. In this one, I was like, mate, you should be disbarred for this. Like, you can't do this. And they are like, that naughty Matt. It's like, no, it's a bit more than that.
And here's the wild part, dude. Here's the wild part. If they're really going off the storyline that it appears they're adapting, he winds up being the DA.
Oh, God.
like what?
Wait, he would
After that trial?
He would be Kingpin's DA.
Yeah. He takes it specifically to counter the effects of the Kingpin as mayor.
Wow.
Yeah.
This will be interesting.
I can see
By
where
interesting,
they're
I
going
mean
with it.
stupid.
Still better courtroom scenes in She-Hulk.
Yeah, well, remember the one time he shows up in She-Hulk and he shows like the tiniest bit of common sense and immediately wins the case, and she's like, "Oh, how did he do that?" It's like because he's not fucking retarded like you and the people who wrote this show. Eurodoc says, Drinker, on Last Orders, you wondered if Disney Plus is going to release Daredevil episodes in chunks. Interesting choice of words, since you often mention Disney Plus shitting out content. Well, it seems like that, because MauLer, you walked me through the release schedule for Daredevil, and it is fucking baffling.
Yeah,
it does come in like, it's like having a violent attack of diarrhea, where it just comes in bits.
Obviously, I would imagine, is it 4 and 5 that are released together, or 5 and 6?
5 and 6, I think it goes 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, something like that.
Yeah, I would just assume that that story is like very long and connected, and probably when we finally get to see Daredevil in the suit again, when they're releasing those 2 big episodes. That's my guess.
I don't know, man. I think by the time 5 and 6 roll around, it'll be too late.
As a total aside, how'd you feel about the new suit? I like it. I think it's okay. It's an okay redesign of the original.
10
It's more
seconds we
red.
saw it. Yeah.
I've only seen it like briefly, and it
I
was
was gonna
mostly in
say,
smoke and
yeah.
darkness and
Oh, it
stuff.
seemed
So it's hard
fine,
to
yeah.
tell.
Well, it's better than that She-Hulk mustard.
I like the chunk of horn that he keeps looking at. He's got a little bit of horniness about him.
That is a little odd as a plot device.
He keeps it in his pocket, like really close to the important areas.
Rubs it for luck.
He just rubs it occasionally. But well, I guess
The show's got good music though, right? The music's pretty good.
Sure.
That's one opinion.
That is one opinion.
Yeah.
I thought the music at the end of especially episode 2 was just ear rape. It was terrible.
Yeah, I remember that one annoying me.
Oof. I'm trying.
The new theme, the new remix of the theme isn't horrific. It's just like a lot about the show. It's really desultory and slow.
Yeah.
It's a Disney-fied version of the original. That's what the whole show comes across as. It's like Disney Marvel trying to emulate the Netflix show rather than actually just continuing it.
Should have just hired all the old people back. It's not like they're doing
They
it.
never should have stopped it. They should have done everything they could to keep that shit going.
Yep.
They should have, they could have easily just like continued it on. Like, okay, we're gonna like move everyone over to our studio and like we'll do things perhaps under our umbrella, but it's the same people, the same actors and everything. We're not going to wait for 5 years to carry it on. Easy win. Couldn't do it. Normal Man says, to be fair, the show takes place in New York, where the law is more like a suggestion. The judges know as much about the laws about as well the ability to breathe through their nose. I mean, it's the Wild West in New York, man. What can I say?
I did like BB's cam on the street though. That's so New York. People, have to have population say, Fisk sucks. Have population say, Fisk is awesome, and that's how New Yorkers are.
Oh, I've been driving nuts by those fucking random clips.
The problem is how random those things are.
Yeah,
it just like spittled in there for no reason.
It feels like it feels like a quick and dirty way to like give you a state of play update. Like, how does everyone feel about the current events? And it's like, well, you've got all these fucking talking heads just telling you stuff. It's just an exposition dump by another means. That's all it is.
And I think all the court stuff, it's too short, right? Like, Matt gets shot down when he asks for bail, implying that judge is very much against him. He goes in, makes what I think is like he makes the argument, a tough argument to win, but wins that argument against that judge. But then in this third episode where we get predominantly the courtroom stuff, the guy lies on the stand. And Matt gives almost no pushback, no nothing.
Yeah.
Doesn't try to like rile him up, doesn't ask if he's intimidated by these cops. He very quickly gives up, which is just so short. And then again, like the reasoning for pulling out the white tiger thing, which should be a huge thing. And he pulls him back there and he fucking talks to him.
Yeah.
This guy who so clearly was very biased against you and barely gave you this win anyway, for him to just kind of do that, especially with the DA there. Like, they didn't go into it enough to be believable. They just really skated over everything.
Did you like Matt being a dick where it's like, hey, I heard you got a black eye? And there's an old boxer thing where it's like, if you want to avoid black eyes, have fast hands. Matt's fucking with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to bring the boxing references in as well. Like, if I understand it correctly, his dad was a boxer, and like that's obviously part of his upbringing, part of his fight training and stuff, which is nice.
I said, poor Charlie, he's trying so hard.
He
is
carries the show, man. Yeah. Several times the writing is not up to the
you can tell
his acting.
He cares immensely about this character.
We could have, like, in that courtroom scene, when that guy fucking lies, we could have so easily just seen Matt say, so are you saying on oath that that this cop right here wasn't just trying to kill you the other day, that I didn't come in and rescue you, and not be like I rescued you like I fought you, but like that we didn't have to protect you because some people didn't want you to testify. He never did any of that. And I get it. It's a fine line when you're a DA about like attacking cops right in front of a jury versus, presenting your case. But he just gave up so easily on that witness when he lied that quickly. And I don't know.
Yeah.
No, the whole court stuff just didn't come off as good as the Netflix show. Like that Punisher trial, dude, in season 2.
Oh,
holy crap, that was great.
Was good.
Like, how is it?
I like it.
Yeah.
How is it a show that has the most Daredevil stuff, the most action in season 2? Like the best stuff is in a courtroom, pretty much. It's crazy.
Ain't it wrong.
Yeah.
No.
I think it's because it was peppered in with a lot of other shit stuff.
Yeah.
That was the problem. It was a very up and down season. Tell you what, though, right? You guys,
We tried.
you guys are all excited about The Last of Us season 2, aren't you?
No.
Because that's going to be an epic show. I did love this headline that we got just yesterday from Alex Garland. It says, The Last of Us is better than 28 Days Later. It's so much more sophisticated.
Oh,
And
come
he's-
on.
No.
He is talking about the TV show, not the video game either. And not even the first video game. He's talking about the show. Yeah. Oh,
I thought I was
God.
drunk.
Yeah, it says in an episode of Sony's Creator on Creator series, Garland told Cuckman, let me say this, The Last of Us is better than 28 Days Later, or at least the writing is. I'm not going to talk about the directing. That would be silly. So not that. I know that 28 Days Later is. I know what it is, and I know what it did. I know what that process was. The thing about The Last of Us, I was like, oh, this is so much more sophisticated and moving. It was really moving. I'm not dissing 28 Days. I'm very proud of it. It's a nice part of my life. But seriously, Last of Us is on another level. So yeah, of course I was influenced by it. Yeah, and he said...
Specifically talking about the TV show?
He is apparently, yes. And he said
boy.
it went on to inspire his writing process for 28 years later. Said it was nice to feel like someone's saying, raise your game. So, no. I'm just going to say fucking no. Like, season 1 of The Last of Us as a TV show had some good moments and it was serviceable and it was a reasonable adaptation of the game. It is not peak TV and it doesn't hold a candle to 28 Days Later.
I'm more
fucking
annoyed
way.
at like the fact that he mentioned it, so it's like annoying that he's actually put this into consideration. The effect 28 Days Later had, like its influence, you know, the idea that he'd be
Yes.
like, yeah, but not as meaningful.
Well,
It's like,
It mentions in the same article that 28 Days Later had a huge influence on Neil Druckmann for writing, you know,
yeah, of course,
the
everything
game,
zombie
obviously.
related after the 28 Days Later came out. Most
Yes.
people had seen it, so I don't know, man. Whatever. I guess he can say that if he wants, if that's how he feels, you know. Or maybe he's just saying it to try and I don't know, garner some clout in some way. I don't know.
I mean, it's fine to be retarded like that, but
I just said, Drinker, Last of Us TV show was great because the best parts were copy and pasted right from the game. And of course, they made plenty of unnecessary changes, like one episode
Yes.
about two gay characters that never existed in the game. And for award season, they're race swapping characters. They're making
Right.
Joel a worthless pussy. That's having PTSD panic attacks.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the episode with the you know, I think it was episode 3.
Yes.
with the two gay characters. Like, I was fine with it in principle because, like, one, it was superbly written and it was really well acted. It was obviously a departure from the rest of the show, and it was just like this own self-contained story. I think it was fine with the overall narrative because it was about the gradual loss of that civilized way of being. And you know, the way people choose to meet their end in this world. So I didn't mind too much about that. I think the overall tone of the show, though, the gradual diminishment of Joel as a character and the attempt to turn him into the Joel that we saw in Last of Us Part 2, I just thought that's really fucking scummy, man. Because everyone loves the Joel from the first game. Everyone hates the Joel from the second game and the way you tried to redefine him and turn him into an absolute pussy.
He doesn't get to defend himself in the second game at all. While in the first game, he doesn't even need to because he's taking action in relation to exactly how he feels. Because yes, he's a weaker Joel in the show, which it could be explained by them setting up for season 2, which I barely even want to see because I just like to go through all this bullshit again. Like, we're gonna have to watch him get golf clubbed again, which is almost certainly happening.
Oh yeah.
I think that they are. My guess is that they are going to rearrange the order of events of how they occur in the game so that you get way more of like Pedro Pascal before he gets gone. Like they're not going to do that in episode 2 or episode 3 or whatever.
It's going to be split over multiple seasons. They've already said that. Like, so I think what you're going to get is like a whole season of him and his gradual like deterioration of his relationship with Ellie. I don't give a fuck really, but yeah, he's going to die at the end of the season. That is going to be the shocking end to it. And then season 3 is going to be all about Ellie's quest for revenge.
I think there's going to be timeline fuckery with flashbacks and shit as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Like I do think that like if you it wouldn't have like saved the game or anything. However, if you had like understood all they wanted the shock value of everything.
Yeah.
If you had understood all this stuff like from Abby's viewpoint, not to say like, oh, I totally understand what she did, but you have more of an understanding of why it went down and how it went down and all that. That's what I think they're going to do in the show. Yeah. Rather than just do it and then explain it all after the fact. I didn't watch season 1. I watched the first episode and then I watched the last 20 minutes where Joel goes fucking and kills everybody in the hospital. Just had no interest in it. After what Naughty Dog did, tried to take down my YouTube channel, all that bullshit. But I will say this. The one singular improvement that I can tell you about this show is when it comes to the casting of Ellie. I think it makes way more sense that Bella Ramsey would be a lesbian than the Ellie in the game. So I totally buy that. I think it makes sense to have somebody who looked like they may be missing a chromosome and then ran into a brick wall multiple times. Makes a lot more sense that her only option was pussy.
I mean, honestly, I haven't seen one episode. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, even Matt Murdock wouldn't find Bella Ramsey attractive.
What's even funny too is, in the base game, she was never gay. It wasn't until the DLC when Druckmann took over. Then she was gay in the DLC. The base game, Ellie's never mentioned her sexuality. And then he takes over everything once going forward. Now all of a sudden she's a super lesbian.
Right. That is exactly what happened. Yeah. Like, because that's the Ones Left Behind, I think, was the DLC. Yeah, that was not particularly popular. I don't think people really embraced that one.
And then Ryan, they put that into the show. That was episode 4, which all
exactly. It was also a little strange to have this like lesbian fucking story about like some 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl. Like there was a decent amount of backlash to it at the time.
And it just doesn't fit. Like I haven't even so I played Last of Us 1. Avoided 2 because it sounded god awful and have not watched this show, but it sounded to me like from what you're describing, it's like the last of they them. Like it's not even
the first.
I didn't detect any of this stuff in the one game I played. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, the one that I'll say this to you, right? The first 2 hours of The Last of Us Part 2 are so fucking plot heavy. Like, and it's all this stuff. It's all social justice. Everyone's fucking gay now. It's all about like teen like relationships. Like everyone's bisexual or whatever the fuck they are. Ellie's like bumping uglies with Dina.
MauLer said it.
What's that?
The bigot sandwich.
The bigot fucking sandwich bit.
That
like
quote Razor.
Somebody actually wrote that dialogue.
What?
So yeah, all right. How can I put this into context quickly? Right, there's a big like community dance thing, like just gathering together one night,
and then Kevin Bacon shows up, and they all start dancing. The town elders. No, anyway, sorry.
Ellie and Dina like start like making out in front of everyone, and someone comes up to them and says, "Hey, do you mind? Like, there's kids here. Can you stop?" And like Ellie's like super fucking offended. How dare you? I have to live my truth and all that. And then like literally the next day, he's like, look, sorry, man. I was a bit out of order there. Maybe got a bit carried away. Like I made you like some sandwiches or something.
In a bag too.
As apology. And like meat, I guess, like, cause like meat's really rare in this world now. Cause like everyone's on starvation.
Well, yeah, she's
for Abby.
And it's like, so she takes it and then she meets her friend immediately afterwards. It's like, what have you got there? And she goes, bigot sandwiches. And
wow.
My soul just died a little bit, and I realized that's it. That's the game I'm going to be playing right now.
That's the first 15 minutes of the game.
From now on, this is set the tone for the whole fucking game.
Well, what do you expect? You offered a lesbian meat.
Yeah. So, yeah. Don't play Last of Us Part 2. Just save yourself the aggravation.
Do you really play those games though, dude?
I mean,
Well,
Mostly a walking simulator.
mostly just watching.
You could cheese out the AI so easily in Last
Yeah.
of Us Part 2 as well.
Well, remember now games like that have the story mode difficulty where it's just the gameplay itself.
That's for gaming journalists.
Exactly.
So they can review it.
That's
without
why they
actually
hate
having to
Elden Ring
play it.
for.
They might as well just have like press
games,
X to
how you
complete the
play
game.
them.
Yeah, I never understand when stuff like that, when like really cinematic heavy games get adapted into TV shows and movies. Like years ago, remember the guy who wrote Deadwood, David Milch, was supposed to make a Heavy Rain movie. Remember that? I was like, why? It's already a movie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Well, dude,
right as
Until
Rain, it
Dawn.
never came out.
Until Dawn's
just-
getting a movie this year.
It is. Oh my god.
And
Isn't
Until
there a
Dawn
Death
is a
Stranding
movie.
movie?
Probably, yeah.
Well, they're making part 2 right now.
Because the difference is like when they say, BioShock movie or Dead Space, you're like, oh shit, I could see this. Like, what are they gonna do? And then you're like, yeah, fucking Until Dawn, the game where you have to press one button per 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
really?
Well, we're getting another Resident Evil movie. It's like the 17th attempt to try and adapt this shit.
They'll
Nope,
get it
We're
right someday.
getting that
Oh, but
this year.
They're saying it's authentic now
The
for the
Drake-
15th time.
They said that this one is the most video game accurate, like the other ones
This
were.
is going to be faithful to the games. Yeah, sure it is, buddy. Sure.
It's just like that Netflix show.
Yeah. Oh, Christ. Yeah, don't ever mention that again, please. Still having
Lance-
therapy for that.
Poor Lance Reddick.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's one of his final roles, and that's how
yeah.
he'll be remembered. As
Yeah.
fucking your fat, like middle-aged dad trying to cosplay as Blade. Oh, that was sad.
That was a dark existential thought there.
Yeah. I did like this one. Kieran, off topic, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Angel Studios' business model for movies and streaming? I think it's really fucking smart, actually.
We've seen Sound of Freedom. Man.
It's not just that, but it's like their whole model is basically like it's a subscription service, and everyone who subscribes to it gets the opportunity to vote on what gets made. So, like things will get presented to them once a month or once every couple of months or whatever, and everyone gets a vote who's a subscriber, and the thing that gets the most votes is the thing that gets commissioned generally, and that's what they end up making. And it's like democratizing the whole film production process, so that people, from everyone's point of view, the audience gets what they voted for, what they want to see, and the film production companies get to make the things that they know are going to be successful because people love the concept, which I think is a pretty neat idea. So I really like it. Yeah, if they can scale it up to the point where it actually competes with what Hollywood does, great.
It's almost
Good
like
luck
it's
to
almost
them.
like give the fans what they want.
That's all it is. Yeah, it's kind of like like crowdfunding movies. It's like Robert Rodriguez is doing that, isn't he, at the moment?
Seems like it from what I've heard.
Yeah. So he's got this thing going where it's like, sign up for this thing, you crowdfund, movies, and you get to decide on the things that you want to get made. Same deal. Which I think could be potentially, if they can get the funding behind it, and if they can actually, get the resources in place to get a pipeline for this kind of production, that's the future of movie making, because you're getting instant feedback. It's like focus groups, but on a massive scale.
Yeah.
So why not do it?
Yeah,
I
and
think
Sound of
it's-
Freedom was huge for them just because
Massive.
of the insane profits that raked in based on what they spent on it.
And the
So,
chosen,
but they
dude.
didn't make
Dude.
it though. That was the thing. They bought the rights to it, which is
Correct.
fine.
The distribution rights, yeah.
And it was obviously a huge boon for them, but they didn't make it. But like they need to make things like that in order to carry on with that success.
Yeah.
Hendrick, and well, you guys know this war. I know you're not the biggest fan, but like Sonic the Hedgehog proved it, man. We're giving the fans what they want. We got a trilogy that did $2 billion, and people love the Sonic films because they asked them, "Hey, should we fix this? Fix it, please." And they fixed it, and there you go.
Well,
Do you think freaking Sonic is going to wind up being kind of the Spider-Man of a wave of video game movies? You know
Well, I
what
mean, we've got like
Kinda is.
there's a lot of video game stuff going on in general.
yeah,
right
Mario's
now.
already
It's tough
going,
to say that
isn't it?
it's like Sonic that's like the one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think that the Super Mario universe, whatever they decide to do, that's going to be pretty big.
Because they're
Like-
putting Zelda's in production, right? They're doing a
Yeah.
movie for that. That's going to
Yeah,
be huge.
but
If
then
that
we
comes
gotta
out.
It's just so randomly announced one day.
But then the problem with Zelda, they want to make Zelda live action. But then how's that going to cross to the CGI Mario film?
I forget
I
what
don't think
they've
those are gonna
said.
be together.
No, yeah, they're probably not.
They already made a live-action Zelda film. It was called Legend, and Ridley Scott made it in 1985.
Good old Tim Curry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but said the Sonic films, but they're already, I mean, they're just already adapting a video game, so they basically are still video game. Like, especially when Sonic fought Shadow, that's just a massive video game cutscene. A whole 10-minute battle when they both go Super Saiyan, and the fans loved it in box office.
It was cool. They were fucking retarded for putting it on streaming like 3 weeks into its theatrical run. They were fucking retarded.
Yeah, Ryan, the fact that
parents can just put it on for their kids at home.
Oh, you're right.
Instead of forcing them to drag their dumb asses out to the theater.
Yeah,
they honestly could have made another $50 or $70 million easy.
Oh, totally. I mean, I expected fan feedback to beat Mufasa. Mufasa still did more than Sonic, and who liked Mufasa?
Yeah, that was sad, man.
The fact that Mufasa still did $700 million.
I thought that was going to be in the $600 million range. I did think it was probably going to beat Sonic. But because of the budget disparity, you know, a $500 million Sonic movie would have actually made fucking money for them, as opposed to a $600 million Mufasa movie, maybe barely, possibly breaking even for Disney. Now it went on to make 700. But another thing to point out is that the Lion King live action, whatever, made $1.6 billion. Mufasa made effectively $1 billion less than its predecessor at the box office.
No, I agree with that. I was so shocked that it did still did, but even Mufasa doing 700 is still disgusting for the quality of how bad that movie is.
No, man, freaking Sonic. I went to see Nosferatu. I think they came out the same day, didn't they? Sonic. I seen
Sonic the day before, because Nosferatu was on Christmas Day for us. So I seen
something like that. Yeah. They were around the same time, and dude, the theater was packed with families just for freaking Sonic. I mean, I'm sure that would have done it.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say that for Nosferatu. I was like, really?
No. They better not.
See Nosferatu on Christmas Day.
Get around, kids.
Family movie,
Come see the
kids. Come see how vampires are made.
Even on Twitter, I see MauLer tweet out the Jim Carrey Robotnik dance. I don't have TikTok, but friends of mine are like, dude, that Robotnik dance is everywhere. Even if you didn't see the movie, you see the Robotnik dance.
I was so over Robotnik, and I'm glad he's dead now, to be honest. I
dead.
I appreciate the performances, and I like some of it. Having two of him there for basically the entirety of Sonic 3, I was just over it at the end. When he had the praying mantis things out, I'm like, fucking kill one of these motherfuckers.
He killed him with a bug zapper.
Let me ask you guys as well, like, as much as you're excited for Last of Us Season 2, I'm sure you're even more excited for Snow White when it comes out in like a week. But,
boy.
I mean, you know who isn't excited for it? Disney.
That is one of the most equivalents I've ever seen of a movie that's a punching bag before it's come out. It's like, prepare yourself, Snow White.
Well,
that's all your role is.
The Marvels had that same level of
I feel like this is bigger. The Marvels, at least, like, a lot of people didn't give a shit, but Snow White seems to be this cultural thing of like everyone recognizes what a fucking abhorrent turd this thing is.
It's bad. Today I seen an article in the New York Post talking about Snow White and Disney. The New York Post is not even like talking about, they don't talk about usually entertainment news. They'll talk Rachel Zegler. Oh, damn, guys.
Yeah.
They waited so long to make this movie. The Daily Wire already tried and failed to produce a competing Snow White film. Like that, I assume it was going to be called Snow White and the Seven Shapiros or something. But it's dead. It's dead already. So because they fired the lead actress.
Well, that's a bit. That's a bit of a stumbling block,
right?
Yeah. Lead actresses are a bit of a problem in these Snow White movies these days.
These days,
yeah. You know, it was right before or right after the actors' strike. Somewhere in that time frame, so summer of 2023, when those leaked photos from when they were just doing pickup shots came out, where you saw Snow White, and then you saw what a lot of people at the time assumed were going to be the seven dwarves. Now, I was saying since like 2 days after that, I know somebody who has a good friend that was working on the film. He immediately told him, those aren't the fucking dwarves. The dwarves are still going to be in it. This is a different group called the Bandits. But the story went viral, and it didn't matter. It looked like Snow White and the seven Portland baristas. It was out there. And because of that story, that's when people went back to 8 months before at D23 and saw Rachel Zegler talking about it on the red carpet, and we're like, holy shit, this is insufferable. She's awful. Look, she's bashing the original. This is so annoying. Weird. And then all those clips went nuclear, and it was done. Like, it was done at that point because you pissed off Disney fans, people who don't politically care one way or the other, but care about Disney stuff, right? You pissed them off. You obviously pissed off a lot of other people with your comments about making it modern and it's not 1937 anymore, all that shit, because we knew what that was going to mean. And of course, Disney themselves set them up for this when they bragged about our first Latina Snow White, right? Even presenting it that way, it had a certain way about it. Like, we understood what they were doing because they announced Black Little Mermaid and Latina Snow White at the same time. So it's been 2 years almost since all that went down. And it's been nothing but negativity because every time Rachel Zegler opens her dumb fucking mouth, she says something retarded. And now Disney's solution is to literally muzzle that bitch. That's what they're doing. They're not letting her speak to anyone. She's going around and singing, not answering any questions, and then making her merry way. Gal Gadot is out there doing every single media event, going on Good Morning America, going on these shows, and actually talking about it and answering questions because they know that Rachel Zegler will fuck it up if she does.
No, you're 100% right. And like what they're doing is the best. They're making the best of a bad situation where it is. Yeah, don't let Rachel Zegler get on a hot mic because she will say something retarded and she will take a couple more $1 million off your box office takings at the end of the day. Let Gal Gadot get out there. You know, she's more of a seasoned pro. She's obviously extremely pleasant to look at. Just let her do that and let her like niceness just permeate everything because that's the best chance you've got. Yeah, like they have nuked it with their choice of stars on this one. That is the unfortunate reality of this. And yeah, now they're relegated to the position of cancelling the entire premiere, essentially. They've cancelled the premiere in the UK. They have turned the premiere in Hollywood into just a low-key, private-only event where there's no red carpet, there's no media, there's no unscripted interviews, nothing. Everything is tightly controlled with it now because they know that's the only way they can make this work. But when you do that, you don't give the stars a chance to actually promote the film, and so you kill the buzz around it. And you admit as well that everyone hates it. That's the biggest problem.
What was the production cost? 300 million, 350 million?
I've heard reports that it's over 300 with all the reshoots.
It 100% is. They had spent $270 million on it, probably with their UK rebate that would bring it down to like 230, 225. Through the end of 2023, which they had not even done reshoots at that point, let alone any of the post-production work. So there's no way in hell that this movie cost them less than $300 million. And so you have a direct comparison, Black Little Mermaid to Latina Snow White. Black Little Mermaid came out. That budget they told us was $250 million. Turns out it was actually $300 million. Had a marketing budget of about $150 million. Everybody tried to pretend like it was a success, but it lost a significant amount of money for them at what, $570 million at the box office.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Snow White. Like my guess is in that like $400+ million range. That might be generous, but I do think it'll end up there, and that's gonna be rough. That's gonna be hundreds of millions of dollars lost.
Yeah, because 400, because Disney still is a brand worldwide. They still have some curiosity from people.
I think this has crossed over into mainstream counter narratives almost, where it's like even normal people know that there's a negativity surrounding this movie, and I could see it ended up in a Brave New World situation where it's struggling to even reach 400 million worldwide. I could see it being in that position. And I think, when we talked about like Rachel and like her comments about all this stuff, I think success reveals your true character more than adversity does, because when you're on top of the world and you think you're untouchable, I think that's when you reveal who you really are, because you think there's going to be no consequences to anything you say or do. And that's what we got from her. So, yeah.
You know, for Rachel Zegler, this is not one of the typical kind of young hot actors that we see in Hollywood, where it's like, oh, they were part of Disney or Nickelodeon or a child actor and like all this shit. She was plucked out of relative obscurity. She made like YouTube song where she just like covered songs, singing in her bathroom and shit. And she was plucked out of obscurity by Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. And that immediately made her a hot name. And all of a sudden, you know, before that movie even had the chance to flop, she starts getting cast in these other things because people thought, oh, look, Spielberg found a star. Yeah. And she gets all of these roles. And she probably had no fucking media training, nothing like this. Yeah. And she's a dumb, retarded, fucking 21, 22-year-old when she's making all these statements. And
didn't they kind of do the same thing with Daisy Ridley? But I thought she handled it better, honestly.
She was smarter. I think they tried to get her into that position and she wasn't having it. You know, Brie Larson went through this same sort of character arc, but like she eventually learned her lesson, probably too late to save her career, but she got there in the end. Yeah. And it's something that like I think every actress has to grapple with, particularly nowadays. Like I think Disparu made a good video about it when it's like Brie Larson realizes that the media is your enemy. As a famous celebrity in Hollywood, they're not there to help you. They are there to try and get
you for sure.
Yeah, they're there to try and get like a soundbite out of you, something controversial that they can sell for clicks. That's all it is, and they're going to try and bait you into saying something controversial.
Yeah.
I love how the Variety article that broke the headline of the Hollywood premiere being scaled down and no media access, no red carpet interviews, none of that stuff. It was written by Mark Malkin, who I believe is the Variety reporter who started off all this shit. He's the guy that always interviews those people. He's the guy who asks her, is this the gayest Marvel?
Oh, is that him?
Like, he's the guy that was like, broke that story and was complaining about it, basically, when the clips from his interview with her at D23 are the ones that set off this nightmare.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's funny for Tom Holland.
All he said was like, you said on stage that this was going to be a more modernized version of Snow White. What does that mean? And that's where she goes in the whole spiel. Well, it's not 1937 anymore, obviously. So, you know, like it goes in that whole thing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the animation would be better.
Well, I'll say that's the thing with Tom Holland. Tom Holland was spoiling stuff, but Tom Holland was he's so excited to be Spider-Man. He just was happy all the time. Like nothing but positive press tours with him.
Look at Charlie. We just talked about Daredevil. Look at Charlie Cox and how he handled being cast as Daredevil. That poor guy. He had been languishing. He got little bit parts on. He was always a great actor, but he was on Boardwalk Empire for like 3 episodes. Then got killed off, and you know what I mean. Like he finally broke it big, and that's a part of that story we didn't even really talk about. Daredevil was like a family business for him. Like his wife was the makeup person or seamstress or something like that. So when that show got canned, like his whole family was out of income. I think that's one of the reasons he had convened that meeting with Kevin Feige to try and save the show.
Yeah.
Because it means a little bit more to him than just another Marvel
show. I wish they
fucking
listen to him, man, and D'Onofrio, and actually just full restart, you know, get the right people in. Like, don't fuck around with this.
Because, you know, like, I love when you get stories like that where it's like actors who genuinely really care about the characters that they're playing. They're super invested in it, and it means a lot to them to the point where they're willing to fight for it and potentially even jeopardize their careers to get it right. Because MauLer and I, we've been talking a lot recently about Firefly, like a show from 20 years ago that done on a small budget, but everyone involved in it was super passionate about it, really cared about it, and fought tooth and nail to make it the best that they could. And you'd love that. That's what you want to see with things. It doesn't always work out financially, but man, you get like such a better product at the end of it.
I've heard great things about Firefly. I'm waiting for season 2 to drop, then I'm going to binge it.
Sure, yeah. Hang in there, Ryan. It'll come.
If you guys like Firefly, it was a show came out just before Firefly that was really similar called Star Hunter that was also really low budget, painfully Canadian. Super like one of those Canadian cyberpunk futuristic kind of show, but it was similar to Firefly, bounty hunters in space, whatever. Picture like bounty hunters from Star Wars in a Blade Runner kind of world, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It lasted 2 seasons. They wound up re-releasing the first season on Robert Rodriguez's TV network with like new HD effects and stuff like that. But very underrated show.
I mean, as all you guys know, like chat's saying, this is why Henry Cavill quit The Witcher. He's like, "Fuck, I'm going to Amazon making Warhammer. I can't take how much more you're butchering Geralt." Like,
yeah, The Witcher was fucking painful, man. Like to see it, like a good actor who was super invested in the part,
he
just
read
get
all the books.
absolutely used and abused. Like you had a
And
show,
now he's complaining about the content of the show. Like, I didn't think we needed all those sex scenes. I didn't think we needed all of it. And he's right. He's completely right. Like the show should have opened on some Witcher stuff, not on Yennefer getting rammed. Like
I would have happily had like just an episodic show where it's like a monster of the week. Geralt's got to come in, fix a problem, kill some monsters, move on to the next place. That would have been fine by me. And then like, bookend it with like an overarching storyline that you move forward. That would have been totally fine with me. Instead, we got this god awful, like non-chronological, like convoluted timeline bullshit that nobody could follow, and then shitty characters that were just poor interpretations of the books. Yeah, it was awful.
It's a drinker. I mean, people overhate it, but Supernatural had 15 seasons. Still, was Monster of the Week. One episode, the first 2 and then the last 2 were just the overarching episode or the villain for the season 2, 3, 4, and it kept going and going. But it lasted 15 seasons for a reason. It was formulaic, but they knew their formula.
Yeah.
But formulaic TV shows have existed for fucking 80 years or whatever. And now with like the foray into streaming, everybody's trying to do this big premium, 10 episode overarching story. And not everybody can do it well, but everyone's trying to do it.
Yeah. Everyone's just trying to make like an 8-hour movie instead of like having a TV show.
Look at the absolute state of Star Trek. Look at the absolute state. How many phenomenon of the week TNG episodes are there? And they're incredibly memorable. Episodes like Phantasms and whatever, like really good episodes that are just, they encountered a phenomenon. Like this is just our bottle episode for this week. Yeah, they had a little bit of continuity. DS9 did serialized storytelling stunningly well, right? But DS9 was its own thing. Every single Star Trek show does not need to be that. And I think Discovery has clearly shown that when you try and take that serialized storytelling, modern streaming service formula and try and slap it onto what is supposed to essentially be a phenomenon of the week Starship show, it goes up like a fart in church.
Yep.
So left, he had 8 seasons of a show called 24, and every season had 24 episodes.
But that's not true. That's not true. The fucking last season they cut down to 12, which is gay shit.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
was that season 9 though?
Whole day.
Yeah,
that was the one they did in the UK.
Wasn't that the one that didn't even
so much?
Yeah, that didn't even have Jack Bauer in it. They had a whole new character as didn't it?
That was a different one. That was like the reboot or whatever. But the last season of Kiefer Sutherland's 24 was only 12 hours, and it was in the UK.
Bullshit.
I was so pissed.
Bullshit.
As much as we hate to see these shows can before their time, it kind of sucks when they try to do those truncated last seasons. Like, any of you guys watch Rome? Like, the last season of that was just, there was like 50-year time jumps in there, and like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that, like TV shows that have that one last shit season before they finally admit they have to give up.
Bro, Babylon 5. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Farscape had it with the Peacekeeper Wars. It's like, okay, we've got to wrap everything up in like 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I prefer it when they at least have a story to end, but when you know, like something like Scrubs, where they're just like, we got to keep this going. It's like, stop. Just stop.
That was literally kept going because was there a strike on or something? They were just trying to give work to a lot of the people.
Yeah.
It was like a relatively good altruistic reason for doing it, but good God, it was shit.
Well,
the final season.
I mean, don't worry, Scrubs is coming back, so
yeah,
I mean, it's probably preferable to like
it is
MauLer,
it is.
I'm not even joking.
Oh my God, what's left, guys? What's
Everything's
left?
come back.
Well,
They brought Frasier back. That was pretty shit. They've even brought back Sex in the City, for Christ's sake.
I can't wait for it. They're bringing back Buffy.
Full House.
Yeah.
Gang, Full House got a reboot. Let's process that.
Yeah.
But talking about formulaic, look at what, like, that works. People like watching that shit. They just do. And Suits, which went on for like 8 seasons or whatever on USA back in the day, didn't have like the best viewership of all time, did okay, gets acquired by Netflix and becomes like the biggest thing in streaming history, right? Like, just goes off and has insane numbers for like 20 straight weeks at #1 as people are just binging this formulaic show over and over again, to the point where it got a new spin-off called Suits LA starring Green Arrow.
Yep. Yeah.
Which I think they're like 2
Giving 'em
episodes
all.
into
Yeah.
that. I we'll see if it's any good or not.
But the
people like
thing
their
is,
suits, okay?
there's so much mileage in that model of just like predictable episodic comfort food in TV
Yes.
format.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Like, and people like that.
Yeah. I mean, how many long orders do they have?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, another Criminal Intent is where I first not when I first saw Vincent D'Onofrio, but when I first respected Vincent D'Onofrio as an actor, when I saw him in Law and Order Criminal Intent back in the day.
I remember like 10, 15 years ago, The Simpsons had an episode where they had like Law and Order Elevator Inspectors Unit. And it's like them just looking at elevators. It's like, looks like the number 4 is missing on this keypad.
Right.
You know, one of the guys is like, oh, I think I'm going to be sick.
I can just picture Ice-T. Just, I got some news for you. That means you're gay.
Yeah.
I love every time Drinker quotes Simpsons, you never quote like Simpsons from the past 5 years.
No, no one does.
Nobody's watching The Simpsons.
No one even knows it exists
How,
anymore.
it's on season of 37 right now. Like,
It's like, oh God, make it stop.
somebody's watching it.
Someone is.
That shit is a zombie franchise.
It's like Walking Dead, the 19 spinoffs of Walking Dead.
Maybe you guys can clue me in on this as well, especially you, Ryan. You know about Star Wars. So George Lucas has recently revealed that he was working on a Star Wars TV show called Star Wars Underworld that was going to cost at least $40 million per episode. And it was going to be a bridging TV show between the prequel era and the original trilogy. Yeah, and like he's still not given too much details plot-wise about it, but I'm just curious as to what this was ever going to be.
Okay, well, the first thing is George Lucas didn't reveal shit. This was somebody who had helped work on it, right? Who talked about it a little more. We've known about Underworld for forever. In fact, we have behind-the-scenes footage from Underworld that I think got dragged up on Star Wars HoloNet or something.
It was on. I remember this back in the day. It was on the Force.net. They kept talking about this.
Had they filmed part of it then?
Yes, they did testing for it because they wanted to understand so Star Wars Underworld was something that George wanted to do. They did have a lot of scripts completed for it and a lot of storylines that they had ideas for, and it was supposed to be Underworld of Star Wars. So we're not talking about big heroic Jedi shit necessarily. We're talking about under the Empire, the grimy undercity of Coruscant, criminals, villains, smugglers, bounty hunters, shit like that. And it was supposed to be a little edgier, a little grittier. And you do have some tape that is out there from the test shots they did of it. The reason the volume is a thing, the reason that George Lucas wanted Lucasfilm to try to create the volume, which is now being used for dog shit slop like Ahsoka and Mandalorian and Obi-Wan, the reason he invested and tried to start this technology was because Underworld was too expensive. Because he needed to find a way to make it with a more feasible budget, be able to make the type of shows or television series that he was looking to do. And he was shopping Underworld around to see if he could help get it made anywhere. And that's the only new part of this report is that the budget for the episode was supposed to be $40 million per. That's the only new thing coming out of this new report, which is a fucking lot. And
yeah, that's gotta be a lot.
It seems like a lot now. It was a lot in 2011, 2012. Back when the most expensive television series in history was probably Game of Thrones. In season 6 and 7, they were $10 million budget per episode. Yeah. So the idea of 40 million then is equivalent to around 60 million now, which is ridiculous, which is why George started getting into the volume technology to begin with. But look, there's a lot of stuff. There's supposedly some Boba Fett tie-ins and things like that that were supposed to happen. it could have been really fucking cool. I would have loved to see it come to fruition. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, this is the question, because like they, as you've said, they've not revealed too much about what the actual plot details were, what the characters were, and so on. But just the ambition of it, and the fact that it was made by George, and it was going to tie together these two trilogies that he'd already worked on. Gosh, like, it sounds like it could have been something pretty cool. And just the fact that, you're talking about it being set in the criminal underworld of Coruscant and stuff, like what was life like actually under the Empire? Right. That actually sounds like pretty interesting.
Yeah, like you say, gosh,
you want to buy some death sticks?
Yeah. Well, it says here, like, we had over 60 scripts, like third draft scripts. They were great. We had the best writers in the world. These were dark scripts. They were sexy. They were violent. They were absolutely wonderful, complicated, challenging scripts. What else? It would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney would have definitely never offered George to buy the franchise. I don't know what they mean by that. Like, it would have become too expensive for them to buy over.
Potentially, I think that's the implication. And that was from either a writer or a producer or somebody who is working on it. That's not a quote from George, which it's being portrayed that way by some people.
I guess some guy McCallum.
Rick McCallum, maybe.
Yeah, that was it.
So
one of his producers.
I have a quote from George from 2011. Right? When he was talking about, he was referencing Underworld and things like this. He says, it sits on a shelf. We have 50 hours talking about how many scripts were ready to go and how much they could film and stuff like that. We have 50 hours. We're trying to figure out a different way of making movies. We're looking for a different technology that we can use that will make it economically feasible to shoot the show. Right now, it looks like the Star Wars features, but we have to figure out how to make it at 1/10 of the cost of the features because it's television. We're working toward that. We continue to work towards it. We'll get there at some point. It's just a difficult process. Obviously, when we do figure the problem out, it will dramatically affect features because feature films will cost between $250 to $350 million. When we figure this out, we'll be able to make it for $50 million. When he was talking in 2011 about the technological challenges with making Star Wars Underworld, he was referring to the volume that Lucasfilm did end up creating. And that's why they can make a season of Mandalorian for $80 to $90 million. And, Acolyte costs $230 million, Andor costs $250 million because those are traditionally filmed. And so despite how fucking dog shit I think anything Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni work on is, the idea that they're able to do it at the budget they're doing at is obviously pretty beneficial to the company.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they'd lose even more money.
Definitely.
No, it's interesting. It's always one of those what ifs. Like in some alternate universe, like George never sold to Disney and he actually got this TV show made.
In an alternate universe, that hack who made the People versus George Lucas documentary and lied to a bunch of Star Wars actors to get them to defame him, that never gets made. And then the internet decides not to break out the pitchforks and torches. And then we don't wind up with Kathleen Kennedy owning Star Wars.
Primarily
spearheaded
by RLM, by the way. That's like a big part of their legacy. They haven't
absolutely. I've been shitting on them for years over that.
Yeah, they haven't given up. Like whenever something new Disney related comes out, they'll be like, well, it's better than the prequels. It's always like, is that right?
Well, that's the thing. It'd be interesting to talk to them and say, like, obviously this made your channel, and so you probably have made millions of dollars out of this over the years. But do you regret, culturally, the impact that you've had on making people hate the fucking prequels and almost bringing about the rise of Disney Star Wars?
If you watch the Rise of Skywalker review, Mike apologizes for having suggested, and probably, even if it's a tiny amount, somewhat influenced, because he said that Star Wars should be given to J.J. Abrams, and he was that's what he said.
I remember there was a prominent, I won't shit on him here, but there was a very prominent Star Wars channel on YouTube and made a video called In JJ We Trust. And it was effusive. Oh, he's going to turn the franchise around. He's got a vision. He was born to make this. And Cue the Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
Yeah. I suppose back in the day, it might have seemed like a more viable prospect. Like JJ was this exciting new talent who had this reputation for reinvigorating franchises. Like he did something with Star Trek. It wasn't good, but he did something. And you know, the idea of like, oh, this guy's going to work his magic on Star Wars, and it's going to be exciting and fast paced and young again, compared to the stodgy, slow-paced, like not sludge, that's unfair, but like the very flawed products that George was putting out with the prequels. That probably seemed very exciting at the time. Obviously, in retrospect, yeah, JJ is a fucking hack who has no clue what he was doing. But
we got people fighting over tariffs. It seems very fucking relevant what George Lucas was putting in the prequel.
Yeah,
right?
So it begins. This is how Galactic Empire starts.
Yes.
Starts with the taxation of trade routes.
I think Vice President Newt Gunray has this down. I think he's got this.
Now there are two of them.
Yeah.
Shoot them or something.
Yeah, but Drinker, even when Force Awakens came out, I mean, in hindsight, it's crap. But like at the time, what 2.7
It was huge at the
billion?
time.
Yeah, it's like because
there's a very telling quote from Mike from RLM, just going, "I fucking loved it. It was everything I hoped it would be."
Yeah, man. Well, it was designed that way.
That
It may as well have been designed in a lab. Like if you look at everything JJ ever said about it, it's like it was all supposed to evoke those feelings. It's not a substantive piece. It's just supposed to superficially make you go, "Whoa, that was Star Wars."
Yeah.
Just like Star Trek 09. The exact same.
Yes, exactly.
Star Trek 09. Exact same
I
formula.
fucking hated Force Awakens so much, but it made it worse because I felt like everybody liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I walked out of the theater enjoying it quite a bit, right? And I even made a video afterward where I was like, boy, this is, I think the way I described it is, it's like eating cotton candy. Like you eat it and it tastes delicious, and then you realize, I just ate nothing.
Yeah,
like, I just had absolutely nothing.
Well, you know how like if you go and watch a movie with your buddies and like you've got the car ride home, like you come out of the movie theater and you're like, that was fun. And then like when you're in the car, like driving home, that's when you discuss it in a little bit more depth and you start to go, that didn't really make much sense. And that character's decision was a bit weird there. I don't know why he did that. And like how long that conversation goes on for really determines whether the film was good or not. And I just remember with The Force Awakens, that went on for a really long time. Like the more we talked about it, the more we started to pick apart the things that didn't make any sense whatsoever. And it just kept going. And it was like just unraveled the entire movie. It was like, oh, okay.
I think that was the problem. It's like you come out of Force Awakens. Did I notice these couple of things? Maybe I didn't. You know, I should go see the second time, maybe a third time. And
it's exciting to hear the music and see the Millennium Falcon and see Han and Chewie and like it's exciting, right? I went into it biased as fuck. I was so fucking mad about the Star Wars Expanded Universe in 2014, the decision they made. I was pissed, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to do my best to watch it and see if I like it because I love Star Wars. We'll see. And I just fucking hated it. But I also admitted that I was probably looking at it way more critical than everybody else. And I was also expecting them to talk about a lot more things that I probably cared a lot more about in terms of the state of the galaxy at this point in time and what's been going on. But instead, all I got was this completely shallow little house of cards with no substance behind it. But it had lightsabers and it had music. And I despised it from beginning to end.
Yeah, it was crazy to think back to when they were originally jangling those keys. Like it all starts there, but look where we're at now with like they're all decrepit and rusted and just fucking tossed on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing worse than a bad movie that no one sees is a bad movie that everyone sees. And you saw the long-term effects of that down the road. If everyone plays a bad game, and they're probably not going to come back and buy the sequel. Like, look what happened with Assassin's Creed 3, whatever. It happens all the time. Same thing happened with this franchise. It was like, they made a ton of money on some of those initial movies, but enough people watch a bad movie, you're not going to watch the sequel.
And you still got those wacky people out there, right? Who'll say TLJ is a masterpiece, and it'll be appreciated as such, and time goes on. But there is nobody picks TFA as their favorite anymore. No one's left. It's just gone.
Well, there's nothing to really pick from it. Like, it is the definition of a corporatized, as you said, like a movie that was designed in a lab. Like, there was almost no original artistic thought behind it. It was just, how many things can we shove in here that people will recognize? What's the safest, most predictable plot that we can do that vaguely evokes the sense of Star Wars? Let's just do that. Perfect.
Yeah,
there's nothing to latch onto for people. I can almost see why more people would latch onto The Last Jedi, just because there was a vision there. It was a fucking horrible, retarded vision, but there was a creative vision there. TFA had no vision.
You've just summed up Rian Johnson's whole career, by the way.
Yeah,
fine.
And like I can't understand that. And there was a vision. It was very divisive. A lot of people didn't like it. It's not, in my opinion, part 8 of a 9-part series that's all supposed to be like one continuous thought. Probably isn't the best time to just let a dude do whatever the fuck he wants with it, right? Probably not the best idea. But yeah, I didn't even go see Last Jedi in theaters.
Wow.
Right. Force Awakens, I was out. And I was especially like, I was pissed about it because it felt like everybody just liked it. And it was like so annoying to me that I looked at them all as just fucking dumb pigs eating slop and being happy with it. And so I didn't and then Last Jedi comes out and I start hearing people that are like, God, this was bad. This was really bad. And I finally found a couple people who were then also making comparisons because of Last Jedi to Force Awakens. And like retroactively going back and criticizing Force Awakens, I'm like, yes. So,
dude, TFA for me.
We've lost Razor. He did message us privately and say like he's got like a thunderstorm or something in his area, so his power is like a bit iffy. So hopefully we'll get him back.
Yeah, TFA for me, I was just like satisfied. As you put it, cotton candy is a way to get to it. But that was an example for me in retrospect where I was like I was just not switching on critical thinking at all. And it was ER's video on it where I was like, I'll entertain that, see what's wrong with it. And like I pretty much agreed with everything he'd said for why the film was wrong. And I was like, oh shit. And I was like, this is interesting. And the more it thought about it, the more it fell apart. And then TLJ and everything subsequently, and then re-examining, and it's like, man, this was just a huge disaster from the get-go. And really thinking about how it took over from episode 6, the sheer disrespect to every character, the state of the world, and how they even the disrespect to what the Empire was, just being like, no, they're just replenished, it's fine, don't worry about it.
It's endless. And like by the time you got to Rise of Skywalker, it just got into insanity levels.
Oh yeah,
where
spawned from the moons.
Yeah, and like there's a conversation amongst the First Order where they say like the addition of all these new mega Star Destroyers has increased our forces 10,000-fold. And I just thought, are you even thinking about the retarded words that are tumbling out of your mouth right now? 10,000-fold.
10,000-fold.
And like again, by taking everything that they did in the EU and throwing it away and bastardizing, picking apart, picking this story, fucking it up, picking that story, fucking it up. That'll piss me off. But obviously, like, one of the things that I thought was the dumbest was that essentially the last battle is like a year and a half, something like that, after the Battle of Endor, which is insane on a galactic scale to think about. Even though the Empire dies on the second Death Star, even though Vader dies, even though all this stuff happens, the Empire still has a significant military advantage, and they're still in power, right? So the idea that the rebellion would be able to take over that quickly across the galaxy, it's not realistic at all, and it makes no sense.
It gives you great opportunity for an amazing set of new characters, bigger, like lower than the Emperor and Vader, of course, but still like a bunch of Tarkins, different characters with all different backgrounds.
That's what the EU had, right? You had
the EU explains it. Like they not devolve into infighting because like a bunch of like moths want to take control of the Empire. They want to be the new Emperor, and then they end up having a civil war, and that's what undermines them ultimately.
100%.
That makes sense.
A bunch of people scrambling for power in this power vacuum. So you have moths that are doing that. You have admirals that are doing that. You have people taking their forces and almost turning into like their own little thing. They might have like one world that they control, right? You have this entire scrum that's going on. Rebellion is able to take advantage of that, slowly move up. It wasn't until a couple years after the fact that they actually took Coruscant. And even when they took Coruscant, the Empire still controls vast swaths of territory. And you know what? some of those places are kind of fine under Imperial rule. Some are like kind of cool with it. You know, they don't feel like they're being oppressed. It's just kind of their way of life.
Yeah.
And what an amazing set of stories you could tell in that time.
Definitely.
Oh well.
And now
It
they
was
fucked
the
that
one-
up. Even
the
in
one
the period they're doing in Mandalorian, like that could have been that time frame.
Yes.
Where you
Yeah.
still had those things going on. Instead, it's all like big and fucking secret, even though we know there's like, oh, the First Order's here and the hidden First Orders, the final orders over here. We know
Final
all these
order.
things are going on, but that's all in secret, all in quiet, where it could be very much out in the open and a big part of what's going on in the galaxy.
The one and only interesting thing that the Mandalorian touched upon was the conversation with the fucking
Bill Burr.
Imperial officer. Yeah, where he's like, we actually, under the Empire, we had security, we had
Yes.
trade, we had infrastructure, things were ordered. Was it really so bad? And I just thought that is a really fucking interesting thing to play with.
And then
Like,
he
was
dies in the
things
next
actually
episode,
better
and we
under the
hear it
Empire?
again.
It plays into the Western inspirations of it, right? Now
Yeah,
you're
well,
out
the
on the
encroachment
wildest
of
frontier.
civilization.
Yes, yes, plays into that whole thing, which all that fell by the wayside, man.
Yeah, and it's like the show just had this moment of like, oh, we've got an interesting idea here. Nah, we'll just do a bunch of retarded stuff instead. It's fine.
Yeah.
Always
That's what's problem is, Drinker. The Star Wars universe has a billion stories. You can tell at some point, Mandalorian, hey, let's bring in Luke Skywalker. Hey, the Boba Fett show, let's bring in Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker. Hey, at some
bring in
point,
Lizzo.
yeah, it's Jack Black. They can't just branch off. It's got to some point bring back to Skywalker, and then everyone knows it turns into Luke.
It's the insecurity of a group of creatives that don't have any creativity, and they don't have the ability to branch out and tell new stories, and they just have to constantly fall back on like that run back to mom and dad with Luke and like any other legacy characters they can use to just generate a bit of interest. So they got like they've said it before, like Star Wars now is a show and is a franchise that all it can do is reference itself, a better version of itself. That's all they can do to generate interest.
Yeah, it's like people are watching a Boba Fett show, and you're watching Luke Skywalker train Baby Yoda in a Boba Fett show.
Yeah.
Why?
Good God, that was awful.
Yeah.
If you want that, then just give Lucas give a DH Mark Hamill his own show. But why are you showcasing an entire episode of Boba Fett takes a backseat in his own show?
Yeah,
which Tamora Morrison has complained about himself.
Yeah.
There was one other thing that I just wanted to touch upon, right? And it's just every so often James Cameron comes and says something that just pisses me off. And this is
only every so often, really.
Well, yeah, because like he locks himself in a fucking like warehouse or whatever and just shoots his latest Blue Man fucking Smurf movie for the next 10 years. And then you don't hear from him, but then he comes out again and it's like, so he's talking about Avatar Fire and Ash. And he was saying that it's apparently going to be the boldest film in the franchise, which has actually been pushed back 9 times in the past decade. That's how many times it's been delayed. But apparently it's going to be incredibly emotional. And after he showed it, like a rough cut of it to his wife, Susie Amos, I think her name is, he said, she kept trying to get her shit back together so that she could tell me specific reactions, but then she'd just tear up and start crying again. Finally, I'm like, honey, I've got to go to bed. Sorry, we'll talk about it some other time. And I just, nobody on this fucking planet has that kind of investment in Avatar. It is a fucking tech demo.
Drinker, you didn't read the end of the quote where he said everyone clapped after that.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well,
everyone stood up and clapped.
Look, if she did cry for 4 hours after watching this 3.5-hour movie, it's
because he told her the budget of it.
Yeah, I know.
It's probably because she realized that she's going to have to wait all the way until this gets released and the box office results come out before she can divorce him. That's probably why she was crying, because it's going to be a while.
Apparently, when you divorce James Cameron, you get an Oscar for it. So,
and the best part too, everyone loved Avatar 1 and 2, and the third one is even longer than the first two.
Oh,
there's no story there. Like all of these movies are like 1 hour of story spread over 3 hours of movie, and it's the rest of it is just landscape shots and special effects scenes and just nothing.
It's bizarre. It's huge for the amount of money that it's made. It has the cultural footprint of a pygmy dust mite. It's crazy.
There's nothing.
No one ever talks about it. After you walk out of the theater, 15 minutes later, you forgot what you watched. It's just
Yeah.
there's such a disparity.
I enjoyed the
he's-
second one more than I enjoyed the first one. The first one was just fucking Dances with Wolves, fucking Indian shit. I didn't care.
Fern Gully.
Fern Gully,
But
yeah.
the second one was literally just a high school fucking teen drama where
Yeah.
it's like we're
gonna say,
moving
I think I
to
prefer the
a
first,
new
even if it's a bad
neighborhood.
copy
and
of
we've
other
got to fit
stories.
in.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
I
like a
actually-
teen drama.
I liked a lot of the kind of family aspect of it. I was a little bit of a sucker for like the family aspect of the second one. I couldn't believe they fucking killed off the kid at the end. Like that was like stunning to me that they actually went through and did that. But to bring back the same fucking villain,
I forgot they did that. There's a little impact that had on me.
like to bring back the same villain was crazy. But I guess it's fair game for however many times he wants to come back now, I guess.
Yeah, that's what got me
Brian, they
wondering.
had him pick up his own skull and crush it, and there was no meaning in it. I
Yes,
was
they
blown
did.
away. I was like, how do you have someone do that and it means nothing to me?
Like it was just like he must have thought his former self was too weak, I guess. Okay.
He honestly, like, I would have put that level of pretentiousness. I would have thought he would have like, alas, poor Quaritch.
Yeah, right.
Him well, and then crushes it. Fucking
It's like
bullshit movie,
I said before,
man,
Drake,
honestly.
the sequel has just bare bones storytelling, but you have it at the time period. Remember, in Hollywood tearing down families, a nuclear family, a strong father figure.
Sure, and you know that's fine, and like it's nice that like there's a pro-family message, but that doesn't make it a good movie. Like I need more than that.
Also, is that not undermined a little bit by Neytiri threatening to kill a child in order to defeat the villain?
He wasn't her kid; she was adopted.
Do you want to try that again? It's not where I want to see my heroes do it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. As
it's just I think like when you look at like the first 20 years of James Cameron's career, right? Like he did 2 Terminator movies, Aliens, The Abyss, True Lies, like, you know, interesting movies, like some of them like cultural icons that have reshaped the entire landscape of not just cinema but pop culture. Then the second half of his career, like really ever since Titanic, so we're talking like almost 30 years now.
Yeah, you're right.
He's devoted his entire fucking career to just this fucking forgettable, meaningless, shallow Fern Gully in space bullshit.
Oh, and don't forget,
why are you so obsessed with this?
Yeah,
of all things.
And that's not when any nautical disaster at all happens and he's immediately interviewed like he's the only nautical naval expert on planet Earth. The guy is suddenly a submersible expert because he pays other people millions of dollars to be submersible experts.
It's like, do you want to talk to the guys who fucking discovered the Titanic or the Bismarck or anything? Nah, fucking James Cameron's the guy to go to.
It's like a win-win. They're like, we'll just feed into his ego and we get an interview with James Cameron as a result, you know? Then he gets to be like, yes, I am an expert on these things. Thank you for contacting me.
Well, you know, the thing is as well, like I watched that Aliens Expanded documentary, which is absolutely fucking brilliant. It's like probably the most in-depth documentary you could ever ask for about something like that. But there's loads of interviews with him in it. And he honestly, in that, comes across as a really, you know, down-to-earth guy who was just wrestling with like budget constraints and like the limitations of the technology at the time, the crew, the working conditions, all of that, and you could totally relate to it. Then the James Cameron that's working on movies like this just seems like a completely different beast, a completely different creative force. And it's just like, why are you doing this? Out of all the things you could choose to work on, you could have done a fucking Terminator 3 in the mid-90s.
An actual Terminator.
An actual Terminator 3 that would have been not shit.
He may as well have retired.
I think a lot of it is about the tech stuff with him. Like I
think so,
genuinely, I genuinely feel a lot of it is about the tech stuff because they are the ones. Similar to George Lucas, right, with stuff he was doing, but like James Cameron is like his team are the ones that were like developing this shit so they could make it the way that they wanted to. And I think that is like more than half of it for him. Is it's like this new technological advancement thing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and that's respectable to a degree because I know like he did. You know, a lot of his advocating for like technological advancements is why we got like the great like liquid Terminator effects in T2.
Abyss,
You know, Abyss was like a test bed for that, and you know, all of that stuff is amazing. But like now, you're kind of pushing boundaries that no longer exist, because like we've reached a point of saturation with technological progress in cinema where like visually movies can look as amazing as you can ever possibly conceive.
Well,
except they always look like shit.
Well, they do, but like that's if it's Marvel, and that's when they've got like a million projects in production at the same time. But
Trigger, to back your point, I assume what you're saying is like, as much as the Avatar films could be said to be masterpieces of technology, and the look and everything could be like, oh wow, it's just not doing a huge amount to make the film themselves memorable. It's like
it doesn't. And like we have progressed beyond the point where like visual spectacle is going to wow us anymore. We have seen it a million times before.
And don't forget, what was the big frontier that he was pushing with the first Avatar film?
Fucking
3D television.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
right.
That stuck around, didn't it? That was a nice 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like there comes a point where we're almost going to want to work backwards now, where it's like, okay, we have reached that point of like visual spectacle has gone as far as it can go. Now you need to start telling good stories again. And I would take fucking Terminator 1 or Aliens, like where the visuals in some, you know, occasionally you can see where they've used green screen and all that. It can be a little bit janky at times. I don't care. Like the rest of it is fucking incredible. Great characters, great story, great action. There's loads of practical effects. We would take all of that a million times over any fucking weightless, meaningless Avatar crap.
Yeah, Drink, remember I told you this last year. Alien came out, the first one, the 40th anniversary. I brought my 17-year-old to see a film that came out before he was born, a 40-year-old film. My kid was just like, Dad, this is the greatest film ever.
You
know,
I rewatched it ahead of Alien Romulus, and I still can't get over how good Alien looks.
You say, like, the fact that a film that came out 40 years ago for a modern teenager to love this film, but like, unfortunately, we've seen this. The storytelling in the past decade has been so shit. Everyone's like, you know what? Then I'll take a stupid bare bones storyline with great visuals because it's better than the crappy storylines we're getting.
Yeah, I mean, we could say a lot of what we're saying about James Cameron about the guy who made Alien as well.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
The difference is Ridley Scott is weird in that he'll make like 2 bad films and then a really good one, and then 2 bad films.
For Gladiator 3.
He's
Jesus.
He's just weird. He'll be like, oh, and now I'm gonna win a Best Picture for The Martian. You know what I mean? Like just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and like The Martian was, I genuinely think that was a really good movie, and I think it's probably his last good one that he's gonna do. But that was even 10 years ago.
Well, he's like 1,000 now.
Yeah.
Have you seen
that's it.
Because you got Prometheus and Covenant, right? Not well received generally, but a lot of people are still like, yeah, but I want him to finish out his little alien crazy trilogy. Like, let him make his last one, see what the fuck insane shit he's gonna do with
He's
David.
got one more good one left in him, we promise.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, you know, Napoleon was dog shit. Gladiator 2, absolute dog shit.
Robin Hood, huh? Robin Hood.
Yeah. And like the reports that you get from Seth, like from people who like spill the beans on what he's actually like now, it's like he doesn't even like put any effort into the shots.
No.
He's most of the time he's like, oh fuck it, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
just get it in the can.
Drinker still,
which I respect in a way. Because he's not, it's at least it's not pretentious. It's workmanlike, which I've always liked about.
I know, but like, you know, when you get to that stage in your career, you're not just grinding out movies. This is the point where it's like, you
can take your time.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like this could be my last film, and like these last few movies that I make are going to be my legacy. Like, good God, like do the things you're passionate about, or do the things that really matter. Like, really put the effort in.
Come on. G.I. Jane is his legacy. Let's be real.
Denzel's on set for Gladiator 2 being like, really, how do you want me to talk? Like, you want me to put on an accent? He's like, nah, man, just do your thing.
Talk like Denzel. Like walked off the streets of New York.
I've been working on something, man. Are you sure? I think I can do like, you know, old ancient Greek like these guys do. Like, no, just do you, Denzel. That's why you're here. Go for it, buddy. I'm going to lunch.
That epic choreographed last fight scene between Denzel and Lucius.
Yeah, I'd like to imagine Denzel saying, like, look, bro, I'm 70 years old. Do you really think I can hold my own against like a fucking bodybuilding like guy in his 20s who's in peak condition? Yeah, you'll be fine. Let's go for it. Yeah.
This is movie magic.
You got sharks into a coliseum. Explain this to me.
Yes.
Yeah. It's retarded. Jesus, I hate the timeline we're in.
Terrible.
Tell you what, how about we answer a few super chats? That'll cheer us up before we leave.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. RRTNZ says, once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs. The big bad wolf crept out of his lair to gobble them up, but then he ran straight into Chuck Norris. The end. That's it. That's the only story you ever need. M8566 says, what do you think would be the bigger disaster in terms of quality, Snow White or Thunderbolts? And does anything have a chance of beating Section 31 as the worst movie of 2025?
Snow White,
Snow
maybe.
White.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think will be worse?
Snow White.
Snow White, definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Thunderbolts might just be the kind of thing that we're all like, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Like
I think
Eternals, how it was so bad, but no one really cared.
Yeah.
I think Thunderbolts will be better than the Eternals, but I think, again, even if it's good or bad, no one's going to give a shit.
Yeah.
Also, we should point out that the Snow White movie, the target demographic, not exactly this panel.
No.
Right? So like, I don't know how much they could do to like make us be like, I didn't think that was too bad. Right?
Yeah.
It's
No,
not
that's true.
for us.
Although, obviously, the classic Disney movies play to all ages. That's always been one of their strengths, right? So ideally, you would want a movie that at least adults can watch somewhat.
Yeah, but even back in the day, right, if I had the choice of watching fucking Snow White or Lion King or Snow White or Aladdin, I ain't watching Snow fucking White. I don't give a shit about those dumb dwarves. Stupid bitch.
I'll give you that, but like,
yeah.
Be
the older I
careful.
get-
Peter Dinklage is the toxic Avenger now, Ryan. You watch your
That's
step.
coming. That's still
Have
coming
you
out this
seen
year,
the
too.
the dopey dwarf as well in this? Like, does he actually
yes.
have Down syndrome?
Oh no.
No, I think Dopey is just
I love that MauLer. Just go, oh no.
Well, it's 2025. I think Dopey is just a reference to fentanyl addiction now. I think that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You could honestly get Bella Ramsey to play Dopey, I think.
They'll have Dopey wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah. Doc is cooking up meth. It's it's a whole thing, man.
Spaceman saying thoughts on Apple TV shows like Severance and Slow Horses. Well, I'm very much enjoying Severance so far. I'm on season 1 at the moment, so I don't know if season 2 is any good, but I like it.
I don't have
feel
Apple
bad
TV,
for-
but I've heard there's some bangers on there.
Yeah, Apple TV shows feel like the place they go to not be watched by anybody, but to be
Yeah.
celebrated. Like,
Yes.
Here's the thing.
I mean, I can respect the fact that like they don't make that much, but like generally what they do produce is quite good.
Kind of like what
So-
Amazon was at the very beginning with Prime, where they didn't have many shows, but it was like Man in the High Castle, the first couple of seasons. It was Bosch. It was pretty good stuff for the most part. Beginning.
Man in the High Castle is fucking awesome those first couple seasons.
Oh, it's amazing until Trump got elected. And then it was like hashtag resist was the theme of the next season. It was rough.
Yeah, and it fell apart at the end. But that is also one of those stories that when it's like, okay, fucking alternate history, but also some weird, different, like, am I in a different dimension type of thing? A big mystery building behind it. Those are also the shows that very typically do kind of fall apart at the end because they don't have an answer that we want for it,
Are you telling me Lost didn't end well? Are you telling me?
I was not a huge fan of the ending. But yeah.
And Drake, remember they had
that was a great show for 2 seasons.
Oh yeah.
After that,
no, Apple had the Monarch show.
Brandon Lee says, interested to hear the panel's thoughts about Mickey 17. I've always thought Bong Joon-ho was overrated, and I'm so happy this movie came out to prove it. Unfocused script and unnecessary characters. 100% agree.
Oh, why
that movie was dog shit. He has got a spotty track record, and like this is not his forte at all. Like trying to like take on Western culture is about as subtle as a fucking sledgehammer blow to the back of your head. They really want you to know that Donald Trump is bad, and Mark Ruffalo is there to prove it. It's so fucking lazy. There's a million subplots and a million different characters that have no impact to the rest of the story whatsoever. It is a fucking weird movie.
And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and you feel every second of it.
Yeah.
Those are the worst, dude. Those are the worst.
The entire preamble that you could probably do in about 3 or 4 minutes, just explaining what the setup is and like the fact that Mickey can be killed and then cloned, and like his memories just get implanted, so like he's expendable, literally. That's all he's there for. That takes 30 minutes of movie.
Yeah.
Damn.
30 minutes to set all that up. It's so like this movie focuses on so many things that have got nothing to do with the main narrative. It is weird. Weird. Sorry, I sounded like Rachel Zegler there. Fuck, I'll take that back.
I feel bad for Pattinson. Pattinson was acting his ass off. He was trying so hard.
Yeah.
Pattinson's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he tried.
He tried, yeah, and like, he's kind of funny. Like he's very much like Morty from Rick and Morty. Like, jeez, I don't know about this.
At that
But,
Jersey
like,
accent, I'm always dying here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, it's pretty rough. Next one, Slack Attack says, "What's everyone's feelings about the new season of Reacher? So far, it's been a reliably entertaining show."
It's really good. It's much more reminiscent of season 1. Me and Gary are going to go live here in a little bit, actually do our review of episode 6, I believe, which came out this morning. So
3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Season 1 was good. Season 2, I thought was quite sloppy, and I didn't like it so much.
I thought it was fine. It wasn't up as good as season 1, but also the book they chose to adapt is a book that, like, I actually think they did a decent job adapting the book. The problem is it's a very un-Jack Reacher novel. Jack Reacher typically is by himself, fucking wanders into some town, hitchhiking, bumming a ride, whatever, and finds himself in some situation and helps out or whatever, gets drawn into something. The book they adapted for season 2 is very different. It's him working with all his old teammates again, like on a dedicated hunt to find something that happened and somewhere one of their friends got murdered. It's a different feeling book. I don't think they should have adapted it for season 2, but they're kind of back to basics with season 3. So it's really good.
Like there was always 2 books that you got, right? Like, because I've read a whole bunch of them, and like either it's like the sort of Western style where it's like Jack Reacher walks into some no-name town, gets into trouble with like some local crime boss or whatever, and just had to set things straight by beating the shit out of everyone. So that's like,
you mean by killing everyone?
Or no, he mostly beats them up, but like, so there's the kind of Western style, and then there's the other one, which is like the 24 style, where he's got some government conspiracy that he gets drawn into, and he has to like hook up with a bunch of agencies to like take on terrorists or something. So there's 2. That's literally the 2 templates that like the books have. That's all they got.
Yeah. This book, Persuader, is the novel. It's kind of a mix of both. Where he is working with some off the books agents to try to take care of something that kind of got out of hand. But he's also like very personally invested in it. The novel's really good, and they're doing a pretty solid adaptation of it as of right now.
Yeah,
and I think
plus Ryan can attest that you probably see promotional material. Trying to find a guy that's twice the size of Reacher. That guy, Paulie, that guy's like what, 7'4"? Holy shit!
I don't know how big he is, but yes, in the books, he's pretty much the only person you've ever seen like described as intimidating to Reacher because of how huge he is.
Yeah,
and he's fucking enormous in the show.
I mean, he makes Reacher look small, and Alan Ritchson's like 6'4".
Yeah, it's hard to make a 6'3", 275-pound roided up dude look small, but he makes him look small. Yeah.
Pac-Man says the big red flag with race swap stunt casting is that it's an indication of what the creator's priorities are. You can safely predict that the casting won't be the only thing affected by that mindset. I don't know if that's a reference to the Harry Potter TV show where we've got a black Snape now. Are you guys excited for that?
Go
ahead.
We're going to be here for another 45 minutes. You get me into black Snape, man.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking pissed off with that shit. Especially with all the goddamn retarded fucks that try to be like, my race was never specifically mentioned. Yes, it was, you cocksucking pieces of shit. He is described as white so many times. Yes, I know. If you fucking Google it, some dog shit AI or dog shit Grok AI will tell you like the first line of his introduction in Sorcerer's Stone. I get it. And it doesn't specifically say white. But guess what? There's also 6 other books where he's described as white-faced and tight-lipped, where he's white with rage. And literally, his last scene when he's alive in Deathly Hallows, his face is described as marble white. I hate to break it to you, but Papa Asiedu don't look marble white to me, and he never fucking will. Also, I don't think his hair is going to be greasy. I think it'll be a little more nappy if I had to guess. But it's such a bullshit casting for one of the most important.
You just pull a Don Imus on us?
What's that?
You just pull a Don Imus on us?
I did. He's going to be a nappy-headed Snape.
Yes, I can see it now. The Snape spinoff. It'll be Michael B. Jordan, Christina Ricci, Black Snape mode.
I honestly think, like, at this point, like, I want them to just make every single character a black lesbian. Just do it.
Yes.
Like, take this stupid shit to its logical conclusion. Yeah. We know you want to do it. Just go for it. Not
Jesus, take the wheel and steer us into the sun.
Yeah, exactly. At a certain point, it's like, I would rather you just failed spectacularly than kind of half-ass it. Yeah.
And
just go for it, man.
As Ryan said, remember the whole promise was like, hey, guys, this is going to be a very faithful adaptation to the books. Really faithful.
Yeah.
That was the point, right? Because if you're not going to do that, like, because one of the things that people have said, well, it's pointless to do this show because the movies are so close. Well, one, they want money. I get that. But two, I like the movies a lot. I have a really soft space in my heart for them. I'll kind of always see those characters as the characters until we see what happens here. But with that being said, outside of the first two, they're not very good adaptations. In fact, they leave a lot out. There's a ton missing.
You're right.
And especially as you go on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, as these books start to be 700, 800 pages long in a 2-hour movie, they're actually extremely poor adaptations of the source material. So the reason to do this show is what they told us, a faithful adaptation of the books with enough time to actually tell these stories. And right off the bat, you're showing us that's not faithful. It's not faithful to cast a black Snape. I can't wait to see James Potter hang Snape under a tree and fucking lynch him, basically. I can't wait to see the poor, odd, ugly kid get bullied by a bunch of white people. I can't fucking wait for it.
Yeah, right.
I've heard two interesting things from people who have worked on this show that have got in touch with me. One is that J.K. Rowling is apparently not best pleased about casting like this. Cool. Apparently, she's been in conflict with the studio quite a bit about it. And two, they're trying to cast young actors to play Harry, Ron, and Hermione that are age appropriate for the books, right? Which means casting very young actors. But the problem with that is that then if you're going to do a multiple season TV show, they're going to age out of those roles very quickly. And so what they want to do is to film seasons back to back to get them when they are still at the same age. And so they're not going to look weird and suddenly grow up by like 3 feet. The problem being
to death.
Well, that's the problem.
And that's tough because the rules associated with children and how long they can act per day. It's tough.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of rules, and they apparently have to hire like psychologists and stuff to like work with them on set so they don't like burn them out to the point where they have like emotional breakdowns. Wow. So that's what they're trying to wrestle with, and that they don't really have a solution to that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like that's why that's why Chris Columbus was such a perfect director to take on those first couple movies, because he had experience working with kids already, and he knew like they had to work around him because all these guys, they weren't very experienced. They were very young. They were tough to like get their attention and keep their attention. And you could only work with them 4 hours a day. And they had a lot of work to do. So Chris Columbus was like, all right, we're going to set up fucking cameras everywhere we fucking can, just in case we get this one shot and it happens to be the take and we use it. And you see some funny editing a couple of times in Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber because you could tell they had to work around that. But he was the right guy for the job and he made it work. And also he didn't cast a black Snape. So, but I like, they bragged about J.K. Rowling would be very involved in this. You know, we heard that. However, with this John Lithgow casting, which also would have been contrary to the rules she set out for the movies. He's an American actor. I don't have any problem with it, but it was against her initial rule, right? If we haven't heard anything about that. and we haven't heard anything. Now, this one hasn't been officially announced by HBO or anything either, but she's been, unless it comes to chicks with dicks, J.K. Rowling doesn't say shit anymore. So,
yeah.
True. You're right.
I heard Daniel Radcliffe at like 13 years old would fucking sneak outside and be smoking heaters in between.
I mean, how else would you cope with the fucking insanity of doing these movies as a living?
Yeah.
It's the only thing I could think to do.
I'm running around in a cape with John Lennon glasses. What the hell is this?
Yeah. Land Far Away says, huge thanks to Razorfist for introducing me to Dada. It became my top 3 Alice Cooper album. Also, thoughts on the Grand Theft Hamlet documentary.
Grand Theft Hamlet? I haven't heard of this. What is this? I like it from the title already.
Grand Theft Hamlet. Never heard of it.
No.
Sorry, man. What is this? Pentispuli says Styx 3 was announced for 2025. So if any of you Lord of Ring Gollum enthusiasts need a palate cleansing stealth game with goblin protagonists, try those.
They are great.
Those are fun games. Huh?
DKL says, I'm about to be on the road for the next 6 hours as I'm moving to a new city today. Appreciate the entertainment for the long drive. Cheers, gents. Nice.
Don't get captured.
Yeah. Robbo says, just playing the devil's advocate, but it's a bit unfair to attribute all of Snow White's problems to Rachel Zegler, even if she is part of it. Most normies have no concept or care for her comments. Plus, Gal Gadot's more unpopular in the wider world, and she's wooden as fuck. All of the things you've said are true. But
what I would argue with is that Gal Gadot is more unpopular in the rest of the world. Yes, we know. Highly contentious. Gal Gadot is an Israeli. We understand that. Rachel Zegler is posting, free Palestine, support for Hamas, things. Yeah, we understand.
Yeah.
Her controversy has been much bigger and much more forceful, even though there are a lot of people out there that hate Gal Gadot, right, for what they feel she represents.
Right.
Rachel Zegler's controversy has been way bigger than Rachel Zegler.
Are you shitting me? The Snow White versus the Evil Queen is literally like Hamas versus the idea of
Israel versus Palestine.
Are you serious?
I think
now I'm gonna watch this movie,
Jesus
bro.
Christ.
Don't sell this movie to me.
The final nail, I think, in the coffin of Gal Gadot's image as an actress was like someone put a compilation of all her
Did you see that
line readings on X, and it's fucking spectacular. And like every comment underneath it was just, man, we got duped by her being hot. Like,
Kal-El, no.
Oh
yeah, exactly.
I said this to Gary. I've been fighting since like fucking 20. Whenever the first Wonder Woman came out, that she was the most horrible actress ever. It took ages to like have people come aboard. She was so hot.
I had to disengage my dick and start thinking with my brain at a certain point, and it took quite a while.
No, seeing that.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
After that Kal-El no clip, I was we owe Halle Berry and Catwoman a massive apology.
Can you imagine a world with no heaven?
Yeah, that was a low point for sure. Yeah, I think it was when she did things like oh Christ, what was that one she did with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, Red Notice.
Oh, Red Notice.
Red Notice, yeah. Like where she had to play like a femme fatale. It's like basically not playing herself for a change, and she just fucking could not do it.
Movies like that are what come to mind in the concept of AI. Like it really does feel like something that maybe didn't even exist, that I just remembered wrong, because it's such a like slop thing of a collection of stuff.
Yeah,
it probably did well, right? Like because it's just something that everyone would have. Everyone who watched it does not remember watching it, I think is the case.
It's slop, it is pro feed.
It's just Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. Is it?
Yeah, and it's like all I can remember from it is like Gal Gadot looked quite nice, I think, in it.
There you go.
That's fine. Ryan Reynolds was trying to be funny. That's nice.
That's pretty
Rock
usual.
had big biceps.
Rock is going to be an actor.
Rock is still trying.
Still trying,
yeah. One day he'll get there. Crimson Ghost says,
how many Van Wilder movies will we be at that point? Or?
Yeah. Challenge for all of us. Rewrite Black Widow's sever the nerve solution while changing as little about the plot and scene as possible. So when she headbutts the table
You want me to rewrite when she breaks her face to save the world?
Yes. I want you to do
What
it
am I
now,
supposed
MauLer.
to do? Like, what?
She shoves a pair of fucking corks up her
Wait.
nostrils to like block
That would
her
change the
nose.
scene, though. Like,
Actually, you're
you
supposed
have
to
to have her bash her head.
You should wear a mask and make sure she stands 6 feet back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Just
fundamental problem
shoot
is like
itself in the
he smells in a way that makes her not want to kill him, right? And so
Yes.
she has to stop that. How do we
Yeah.
get around it? I don't know. She's got to like.
You need to change the whole fucking film. It's a dumb fucking movie, man.
Yes. I don't know. She just moves away a little bit, so she's out of smell range, and then she can shoot him.
Oh god.
There's no solution that makes this sound good. You just can't. You can't smell Ray Winstone, okay? If you smell him, it's over.
You can. All right, here we go then. Here's a different one for you. Johnny Walker. MauLer, you absolute long man. It's taken me from August last year to catch up to EFAP.
Okay.
Definitely changed my perspective on movies. All hail to the long man and crew.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And you've done something that not many people have, which is go through the entire fucking backlog. Like, it's on the EFAP.WB site. They actually have like an actual counter for how long it would take you to watch the entire thing, since it's been going for 7 years. So glad you enjoyed it, I guess.
Many lifetimes of normal man.
He's a man of focus, commitment.
Total right now takes you 133 days and 21 hours straight to get through. So
holy
not
fuck.
bad.
That man will know all of the EFAP lore. Probably more than you do at this point.
Oh, Drinker, I wonder if it's considering the latest Super Chats with letting everyone know how Super Chats work on this show.
Where is it? What's Ice Poll? Yeah, so you delete 20 quid Super Chats. Okay. No, like
no.
We literally I've got like two things that happen, right? So like if say like one comes up that's super relevant to what we're talking about, like right here and now, I'll bring it up. Or if it's like a really big one like that, where it's like, okay, someone's been crazy generous, I should probably like try and address it immediately. Otherwise, I'm working my way from the beginning of the Super Chats all the way to the end. So I will do all of them. And sometimes it means we can't get through all of them on the live stream itself, and then we do a catch up.
Oh, Drinker, I've always thought about you. How many people actually make a Super Chat catch up stream? There is Twitch people out there and YouTube people that unless you donate a certain amount, they just ignore your Super Chats altogether.
Yeah, well,
no, we've always had the policy, like it doesn't matter if it's like $1 or $1,000 or whatever, like we'll read every single one and like we'll try and give it as much attention as we can. Like we're not differentiating here.
To be 100% clear, Critical Drinker After Hours, every week there's a Last Orders, which is me and Drinker reading through every last one. We don't like to miss any.
Listen to everyone.
And we do our best to make it as entertaining as we can. So yeah,
we do try.
It's just because we used to do that sort of thing as a live stream, and it's like, well, no, more Super Chats started piling in while we were doing it, and then it just became a never-ending cycle. Like, we can't finish.
A 9-hour stream.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a huge problem to have. People just
I know
it's
a good problem.
Oh my
to
god,
have,
$2.
Yeah,
there
I
has
hate
to be a way
those
to manage
days.
it. Yeah, it's like, oh god, it's such a dive. Like people throwing money at us. No idea. But no, we very much appreciate it, and we just try and like do it in the most efficient way that we can.
No, he's messing with you.
Chucksenhausen says, Drinker, I just wanted to say thank you again for letting me join you on the Hash Brown Happy Hour for Cobra Kai with Dark Hour and Lance. It was great fun. Thank you, man. And it really was good fun. I love talking about that show. And we had a good time doing it. So I like doing those happy hour streams. It's a nice little change of pace.
Chuck was great. He was streaming from his job. Like he legend.
Yeah. Every like 5 minutes, his like location would completely change. You go to a different part of the warehouse or whatever. Like who knows what's happening next. But no, it was good. Like appreciated that. I'll do one more here. Michael C says, evening gents, I hear that there's a Monopoly film in the works. Apparently Margot Robbie's production company is going to be spearheading it.
God. Yep, it's what we need, I'd say, in this day and age.
How do you even do that? Like what do you
How can't you do it? Think of the potential.
I can think of loads of ways you couldn't.
Hopefully, Jack Black and Pedro Pascal and Zendaya are in it. I mean, that's who I would cast as the Monopoly man and the hat and the boot.
It takes a very skilled writer to write a Monopoly movie.
Yeah, Is it going to be a critique of capitalism, do you think? Is Hollywood going to go the obvious route?
No, it's going to
Jack
be
Black
a fun,
could
wholesome
totally
family movie.
pull off the silver boot, by the way.
You totally could. Give him the chance.
Are you excited for the Minecraft movie so you can see Jack Black in all his glory?
Oh God, can't wait.
I think that's going to do big numbers.
Yeah, I
It
don't
probably
see why
will,
it
'cause
wouldn't,
the
honestly.
The game is
Um,
crazy popular, Steve.
It's got a built-in
even now.
fan base, man.
I hate I fucking hate the Jack Black is Minecraft, Steve. Fuck that shit.
It's one of those things of like, you see that 10 years ago, you'd be like, it's fucking retarded. What do you mean? But it's like, no, it's real. It's a real thing.
The second trailer got way better reception than that first one did because it actually had Minecraft shit in it. And more of the promotion material has been with actual like Minecraft shit in it, and kids are gonna like that. So.
Yeah.
At least Jason Momoa's
The
like,
thing
no,
is as
guys,
well-
why not?
I mean, the thing is as well, like, it almost doesn't matter how shit it is. It's just got the Minecraft name attached to it. People will go and watch it. Like, kids
Definitely.
will go and watch it. That's the sad thing. And Jack Black will collect another, like, $20 million for doing a fucking phoned-in, absolutely shit performance. Of course he will.
Those roles for him, as far as I'm concerned, aren't acting. They're just him messing around. And he gets paid shit tons of money for it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when he did Claptrap in the
my
fucking
God.
god-awful Borderlands movie. Like,
brought that
that
up?
was just painful. The man just doesn't care anymore. He's just there to collect his paycheck.
His claptrap was poison to your ears.
Yeah, it was tough going. Well, anyway, on that optimistic note, I'm going to finish up there for the night. I know we lost Razor right at the end there. As he was saying earlier, he's got like a lightning storm or something in his area, so probably his reception's bad. But I will finish up there, and thank you to my lovely panel that came in tonight, Ryan, Blue, and Razor, who's not with us right now. It's been awesome having you guys on. I appreciate you giving up a couple hours to do this.
Hell yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for everyone that's joined us tonight and that's super chatted us. As I was saying earlier, MauLer and I will catch up with all the super chats that we missed tonight on our catch up stream. So we will not leave a super chat behind. Don't worry. But for now, that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye.